yesterday, the last couple of days, we had a session of Dr. J.K. Sateva, where sir has explained us about hypothesis, testing of hypothesis, t-test, z-test, and its difference. How chi-square test is related with how chi-square test is a special case of z-test and the test of association. These are the things that were explained by Dr. Sateva sir. Now, on the day 3rd, I welcome you all on behalf of our organizing committee. Today, Dr. Saket Jeswani, he will be taking your session on the SPSS, and he will be focusing upon exploratory factor analysis, multiple linear regression, ordinary least square regression, discriminant analysis, and logistics regression. It will be continued by him, by his good self only tomorrow also. So these will be the topics of today's. Dr. Jeswani, over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, participants.
Welcome, Nitin Kubde, sir.
Yeah, Nitin Kubde, sir, welcome.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Thank you, sir, and welcome all the participants.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Sorry. So, shall I start?
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah, thank you.
Please.
So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, participants. I hope you are enjoying this 6 days workshop on data analytics organized by various organizers and the organizing committee. And on the first 2 days, Dr. Sachdeva has taken sessions on data analytics and research methodology, where he covered various research techniques and tools in Excel. Okay. So I am Dr. Saket Jeswani. I'm working as an associate professor in a School of Management at OP Jindal University, Raigad. I'm basically from Bhilai, Chhattisgarh, and I'm working in Raigad. It's also in Chhattisgarh. I'm MBA and PhD, 15 years of experience teaching HR and OB subjects as well as research subjects. So I welcome you all in this 6 days workshop. This is one of the a different kind of workshop we have organized this time. I thank to the organizers, thank to the parties who have conceptualized this workshop, wherein we have included various statistical tools, which is going to be very helpful for all the researchers, especially the scholars of PhD and MPhil. Moreover, students also will get immense help out of all this understanding of statistical tools. So Excel is the basic tool where we use in research, undergoing research works. Moreover, the two most important and basic softwares which are generally used by researchers is SPSS and Mos. SPSS is a generalized IBM software which has various functions of statistics, and Mos is basically a higher and level of software, a higher version of SPSS, basically you can say, wherein the structural equation modeling techniques are basically it is meant for. So today we will going to understand the basics of research through SPSS, and tomorrow we will be covering research and structural equation modeling and Mos actually, right? So I understand that 2.5 or 3 hours session for this software's understanding the software is very less. Generally, I conduct 5 days workshop for SPSS and for Mos separately. But as we have conceptualized this workshop covering various platforms, in the last 2 days, the party sir will be covering Python and R also, right? Which is again a very complex platforms. So we were trying to accommodate different platforms, a basic understanding of all these platforms. So we only finalized a single day for each platforms, so researchers can have a basic understanding of such statistical tools and softwares. See, gaining knowledge and learning is a never-ending process, right? It's not only that you will only be able to learn such softwares and platforms through these workshops only. You can learn by your own, but a basic idea, a general understanding of anything is very much required to start something, right? So we are actually igniting you. We are initiating a spark inside you. Rest all you have to do. No one can teach you better as you can teach yourself, right? So unless and until you do not have internal motivation, some purpose behind learning, you will not study. जितना भी हम आपको सिखा लें, पढ़ा लें, पकड़ के बैठा लें, आप नहीं सीखोगे जब तक आपके अंदर खुद वो spark नहीं होगा. Internal motivation is very much required. So we are just initiating that motivation inside you. That's it. So after all, after the workshop also, we all are available always to help you guys anytime, right? So you can consult us anytime, but you have to study of your own. We will just give you a brief understanding of what research is all about and how these platforms looks like, how we work on those platforms. We will familiarize you with such platforms, right? And you can of course go through various materials, books available, and then you can learn by your own, and we are always available at the back end for your support, so no worries, right? So I hope everybody is able to listen me properly, or I need to increase my voice. Hope I'm audible enough, right? Anybody can please tell me if I'm audible enough.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah.
Saket sir,
Yes, sir.
before you start with, I just would like to add a few more things
Yeah.
as an initiative of our forum.
Yeah.
Since we are conducting such type of workshops, and you must be aware that this is a sequel. Rather,
Right.
you can say this is the further extension of one workshop which we have conducted in the last week of June.
Right.
That is Global Research Methodology Workshop.
Right.
And we got extraordinary, tremendous response from all across the globe.
I agree.
And with the pressure and the demand of the same audience, we have organized, the result is there in front of you, that we are in the second workshop,
Right.
which is the extension of our previous research methodology workshop. But yes, this is the heart of the workshop, heart of the entire research methodology which you are teaching us.
Right.
You, then our Sajdeva sir, then Mukund sir,
Right, sir.
you would be teaching us the heart of the entire research.
Definitely.
So before that, I just dare to interrupt you that before you came into swing, I thought let me just interrupt.
No
And
problem, sir.
so I must thank the organizing committee members for their tireless efforts in again organizing this workshop. At the same time, all the blessings from Dr. R.L. Srivastava, who is the chairman of our organizing committee. At the same time, he is the chairman of Indian Institute, Engineering Institute. Our principal convener, sir, Dr. R.R. Lakhe, who is also the director of SQMC Nagpur, and our beloved Dr. Mukul Burghate, sir, who is the organizing secretary and lead editor of the International Journal of Commerce and Management Studies. Let me tell you about this International Journal of Commerce and Management Studies. website participants can note down, that is www.ijcams.com. So this is the journal which is a peer-reviewed journal, and it is having ISSN number. At the same time, this journal is considered at par with UGC journal. So participants must be knowing, in order to publish the papers, they have to search for various peer-reviewed research journal having ISSN number. So this is one ready-made platform available in front of you. Before you publish or before you start with your dissertation and project work, it is mandatory for publishing at least 2 or 3 research paper in good research journals. So this is a ready platform available for the participants. They can make the best use of this. Our today's workshop, that is 6 days online global program on basics of business analytics and data sciences, is an extension of that previous global research methodology workshop. Our research journal, that is peer review research journal, will be helping you not only in terms of publishing your article or research paper. At the same time, the organizing committee members are always there with you for any kind of free guidance. So getting free guidance in this competitive world is a great challenge. So this is one platform where participants can look for any kind of support, and we are always there to help them out. Just to announce future initiative, we are going to organize one more workshop. Rather, it would be a complete guidance in the form of classes for the competitive exam in banking sector. These competitive exams are conducted by IBPS, and normally the students who would like to appear for these banking exams are striving hard to get the guidance. So our further initiative would be conducting the classes and guidance for these banking competitive examinations. So I just would like to announce at this moment, and I feel proud to offer all such kind of guidances, all such kind of research initiatives, and that too as an initiative, as a part of social service, where the initiative where the objective is not to earn anything on commercial basis, but just to provide or just to impart the knowledge what we people have taken from the society. So without wasting much more time, I would like to introduce today's eminent, highly learned and experienced speaker and resource person, Dr. Saket Jeswani, who has got vast experience working as an associate professor in OP Jindal University, having more than 2 decades experience in the field of data analysis and AMOS. Rest of the thing I need not say, sir is there in front of you. So without wasting more time in between you and sir, I would like to just peep in as and when required, just to support the seminar or any type of assistance. So wish you all the best, dear participants. And again, I should thank the resource person, the panelist. Again, I welcome you all for this 6 days online global workshop on data sciences and business analytics. Thank you very much. Over to Saket sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Nitin. Thank you so much. So let's start, dear participants. If you have any doubt in between, you can ask, please raise your hand, or you can write your queries in the chat box also. You can speak me also by raising your hand. You will be unmuted, and we should clear the queries then and there itself, whenever you have any query, please ask then and there itself. Don't keep it for afterwards. Okay. Let me share the screen. I hope everybody has SPSS installed in their laptops.
Sir, there was some query from Sadbir Singh because of, I don't know, the installation part.
Okay.
Maybe he
What is
installed,
the query?
I
What
think
is the query?
he had talked with you also, maybe.
But he has the software, I suppose.
Right. So carry on, sir. Huh?
Okay. What about everybody else? I hope everybody else has the software installed.
We
If anybody
circulated
have
your.
any problem, please raise your hand. Yeah, I have forwarded the link
Right, sir.
of trial version.
Right, sir.
Yeah, so I hope everybody has installed, because the hands-on practice will only be conducted if you have the software, right?
Right, sir.
Otherwise, it will be difficult for you to practice.
True.
So participants, please get software installed, maybe trial version, but you can at least work out in that software, right? Okay.
Okay.
I hope the slide is visible. Padmakar sir.
Yes, sir. Your screen is
Okay.
visible, sir. PPT.
So good evening, everyone. Yeah, thank you. Workshop on business analytics and data science. Today we'll be talking about data analysis in SPSS. Today, 5th August. So I will be covering basics of research and then data analysis in SPSS. This is the agenda for today's session. Introduction to research, introduction to SPSS, then introduction to statistics. I will not be covering much about the statistics. I will be directly skipping and directly going to forward for exploratory factor analysis, various types of regressions, and then discriminant analysis. Okay, there are various tests that can be done in SPSS, but due to time constraints, I will not be able to cover all the tests, right? So these are the few important tests which we decided to cover in today's session, and so I will be covering this only. Later on, if you have any problem in any type of test, you can contact me. Okay, so let's talk about basics of research. What do you mean by research basically? So it's a systematic and complete study of the problem. Every individual in this world has some or the other problem in personal as well as professional life, right? So there is there might be different ways to solve that problem, to find out the solution of that problem. Sometimes we can have certain answers to certain questions which are obvious. That is, we call it as a common sense, right? But it's not necessary that those solutions will be always accurate, always correct to solve the problems effectively and efficiently. To avoid this ineffectiveness and inefficiency, the systematic way of finding a solution to a problem is known as research, basically. So any solution you're finding for a problem in an organized way, you will get an accurate solution for that problem. So finding the solution in a systematic and organized way is basically what research is. So research is basically a part and parcel of everyone's life, every individual in this world actually. So knowingly or unknowingly, we solve our problems, we find out the solutions for our problems, but knowingly or unknowingly, we somehow conduct research work. That research work may be incomplete or following the proper steps, standardized steps to have a complete research, and we then find out the solution. but research is basically involved. So for example, anybody wants to purchase a mobile phone. So there will be a question mark that which mobile phone we have to purchase. For example, you wanted to take admission for your higher studies. After graduation, you wanted to go for post-graduation. So which course you need to pursue? Which institute or university you need to take admission? So these are all various questions which are posed in front of every individual in his or her life. Every moment we are surrounded by n number of questions and n number of problems. We need to find out the solution, the answers for those problems and questions. So if we are finding the solution of that problem in an organized and systematic manner, we are conducting a research work. The benefit of conducting this research work in an organized and systematic manner is the accuracy of the solution. We can ensure that our solution will be accurate enough, right? So this is what research work is. So if we are subjecting our problem to a rigorous scientific scrutiny, right? So that we call it as a research work. It means we are not just enhancing our knowledge on the basis of our guesswork, or we are solving the problem on the basis of just a guesswork, or what we call it as an intuition. So we are not applying the common sense, but we are finding the appropriate solution through a systematic and organized manner. This is what research is. Okay. This is a typical research process. While we conduct research work, this is a typical research process what we follow, right? So we define the objectives. First of all, what objectives we need to achieve so that we can find the solution for our problem. Okay. Then we select the method of data collection. So there can be two methods of data collection. One is secondary data method of collection, and another one is the primary. So first of all, we try to identify the secondary data, that is the data already available in the literature on our subject matter, which has been done previously by someone else, right? So on the basis of that secondary historical data, we try to collect certain knowledge. We call it as an exploratory research technique. We try to explore more about our research problem, right? And then on the basis of that exploratory research, we try to define our problem in a better manner. That is the research objectives. In the first step where we define our research objectives, it might not be correct, or it might not be appropriate, or it might not be aligned with with our problem, right? So those objectives can be streamlined on the basis of the secondary data. Okay. Then we go for primary data. We plan our research design. We go for primary data. We plan our research method. And then we try to collect the primary data through surveys, through experiments, through observations, right? So we plan it, and then we try to find out the sample design. So there can be two types of sampling design, probability and non-probability. We'll discuss it later in the later slides in detail. So probability on the basis of probability or non-probability sampling, we try to identify the exact samples through which we need to collect the primary data, and those samples has to be the representative of our population, right? On the basis of sampling, we collect the sample, we collect the data, and then we edit it, we code it, we undergo analysis of the data, processing the data, and then we find out the interpretations of the findings, and we report it on the basis of the results. This is how we try to find out a solution to a problem. That problem can be both in our personal life as well as in a professional life also. If you are working in an organization, you might face various kinds of problems. So how you're going to solve that problem? So if you're applying a systematic and organized procedure of finding the solution of that problem, actually you are conducting a research work, right? So in your personal life also, if you have to take certain decisions, so on the basis of systematic and organized procedure of research, you can find out the accurate solution of your personal problems. Okay. As far as the degree is concerned, for example, PhD degree or MPhil degree or your master's degree, you have to conduct certain research work. So you find out a problem, you pose a research question, and then you work on solving that research question through the method of research. So this research work is basically will also help you in getting the degrees also, conducting your research work, right? So this is the typical process of research, how we conduct our research work. Okay. This is a typical research framework. I will not be discussing in very detail, right? Again, because of the constraint of the time. So I'll be talking about very in brief. If you have any doubt, you can please ask me. This research framework is basically developed by me. I have developed this for a better understanding of research. It generally helped me to write my papers or conduct my research work, right? So there are 3 points which I work on before starting my actual research work. So 3 questions I need to answer and 3 things I need to answer before starting my research work. The first point is, the first priority is to formulate research questions. That is, you need to answer 3 questions. In that, you need to answer 3 questions. So first of all, you need to formulate your research question always. And in that formulating research question, you need to answer 3 questions, first of all. The first one is what you want to find out, that is the area of this study. What you want to find out, that is the area of your study. Second is where you are going to find out, that is from where you will collect the data, who will be your sample population, what will be their demographics. And the third one is how you are going to find out, that is which research design or which method of research will you implement in finding the solution to your problem. Either you're going for empirical research or conceptual research or case study research. These 3 answers you have to give before starting your research work. Okay, so you need to decide all these things before starting your research work. So the first one is what you want to find out, that is the area of a study. Suppose there's a question mark in your mind that which university I should take admission. So which university is best for you? This is the area of your study. So where you are going to find out. So from which particular persons you will be collecting the information regarding the best university. That will be your sample population. Okay, so if you belong to Mumbai, so your sample population will be from Mumbai. And if you wanted to take admission in any university or any institute in Mumbai, then your sample population will be from Mumbai itself. Okay. So all this you need to decide. How you are going to find out, that is which research design will you choose. Either you will conduct an empirical research or you will conduct a conceptual research, a theoretical research based on secondary data only, collecting data through internet or magazines or any other secondary sources. Okay, so it depends on your choice or your research question, how you wanted to proceed in your research work. Okay, so these 3 questions will help you to formulate your topic of this study. Your topic must include all these 3 points. This will formulate your topic actually. Okay. In the second step, figure out how you are going to answer it. How you will answer these questions. That is on the basis of literature review. Okay. So conduction of literature review is the second step. So in that you need to find out 3 things. How have others answered it? How others have answered it. Okay. Previous researchers, if they have worked in this area of study, what they have done. Okay. And the second point, how does your proposal fit in what others have done? Now you will compare your proposal with the works done by others mentioned in the first point. Okay, now you will compare your proposal. If you are saying the same thing what others are saying, or you are saying something different which others have not said. Okay, so is there any difference or somewhat similar? So if you say that there is an increase of umbrella when in the rainy season, So many of them, almost everybody says that there's an increase in sales of umbrella in the rainy season, right? There's an increase in, if you say there's an increase in sales of umbrella in the winter season, no one will agree. Or you're saying something extraordinary, which no one has justified or proved it. It means you're going in a different direction. So your proposal is not fitting with, not generalized by everybody else. Okay. So you need to compare what you wanted to say, what you wanted to prove on the basis of what others have already said or proved. Okay. And then in the third point, how will you fit your model in your organizational setting? Now you are going to test your model, your proposal in the current organizational setting, in the current situation. Okay. So whether your proposal, your model is something realistic, whether it is going to fit in the current situation or not, right? So these three things you need to answer. This can be done only through the help of literature review. In the third point, with the help of above 2 points and with the help of literature review, you need to prepare these 6 things. Okay, so first of all, on the basis of the research question, you will prepare your objectives. These research objectives must be aligned with your research questions and your topic. Okay, many of the theses I generally evaluate various universities. The major problem what I find that the research question, the topic, the research question and research objectives are not at all aligned. Everything is saying something else. Research question is saying something else and research objective is saying something else, right? So there should be alignment between this research questions and research objectives strictly. In the second point, you need to identify your variables, research variables, independent and dependent. Then you need to formulate your hypothesis, then research model, then research instrument, and finally the research methodology. That is the methods how you are going to fulfill your objectives. That is the research procedure. These 6 things you need to prepare. This will help you to prepare the research framework and will help you to proceed in your research work. Okay. So this is the basics of the background or base of conducting a research work. I hope everybody is clear. If you have any doubt, please ask. Okay. So first of all, we'll start with the research question. Research questions are refined statements. That is the specific components of a research problem. So you have a problem in your mind that which university I should take admission. There is a problem in your mind and you need to find a solution of this problem. Okay. So you need to formulate certain research questions on the basis of which your research work will be based on. So these research questions are the refined statements. These refined statements are the blueprint of your problem in your mind, right? So these research questions are blueprint of the problems in your mind. This is the return statements. The problem is there in your mind, but how you will propose your problem with the help of research questions. So these are refined statements. Okay. So which will be the best university for me? This will be your research question. This is a refined statement. Best university for you to take admission. This is the research question. So research question always carries a question mark. Which will be the best university for me to undergo postgraduate studies? Question mark. Okay, so this will be your research question, right? So each component of the problem may have been broken down into subcomponents. So there may be various problems in your mind related to a particular subject matter. Which course you should undergo, which university you should choose, right? So there are maybe n number of problems. This n number of problems should be broken down into various research questions. Okay. So these research questions ask what specific information is required with respect to the problem components. Okay. So this research question basically helps you to provide the specific information to solve your problem. Problem was how to proceed in your career. So how you are going to proceed in your studies in your career? By taking admission in an appropriate course and appropriate university. So there are two questions imposed for one problem related to career. That is, which course is best suitable for you and which university is best for you. So these are the two research questions for your one problem related to your career. Hope you're getting me. Hope it is clear to you how a problem is being converted into a research question, right? Now your research work will start answering the research questions. So on the basis of this research question, you need to proceed further. I will tell you step by step how it is being conducted. Okay. Now you will formulate research objectives. Now you will break your research questions. Question mark को break करोगे statements में. That is known as research objectives. So you will formulate your objectives. It will help you to focus your study. It will avoid the collection of data which are not necessary. And it will help you to organize the study in a clearly defined parts. Okay, so there were two research questions: which course is best for you and which university is best for you. So the objectives will be to analyze the best course for postgraduate studies, to identify the best course for your postgraduate studies. This is the first objective, and the second objective is to identify the best university in the Mumbai region. Okay, so this is the second objective. So here the question mark has been removed and a statement has been generated to identify, to analyze, to study, to understand. Okay, so this research objectives start with which such phrases: to understand, to analyze, to study, to evaluate. Okay, you can write to evaluate the best course suitable for me in the Mumbai region, or to evaluate the best university suitable for me in the Mumbai region. So you need to evaluate out of various courses, out of various universities, which is best suitable for you as an individual. Okay, so this is the research objectives which has been generated with the help of research questions. Now you need to fulfill these objectives. How you're going to fulfill these objectives, we will see further. So on the basis of that research objectives, you will formulate the research hypothesis now. So every research must have an hypothesis. Without formulating hypothesis, no research work is complete. Okay. So hypothesis is basically an unproven statement. It's a proposition, right? It depends on the interest of the researcher. It may be tentative statements, but it helps you to proceed further. It helps you to create a theoretical framework. It helps you to create a theoretical model. Okay, so hypothesis is possible answer to your research questions, basically. So there are two types of hypothesis. One is null hypothesis, another one is alternate hypothesis. Okay, so null hypothesis is zero. Nothing, there is no difference. Okay, everything is same. The opposite of null hypothesis is known as alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis is represented by H0 and alternate hypothesis is represented by H1 or H2 or H3, right? So alternate hypothesis is basically the hypothesis is the claim that you are testing actually, because it is always been in a positive manner, it's a positive sense. So you wanted to test it, you wanted to prove it, and you wanted to accept it. So you always work on alternate hypothesis. Of course, the opposite will be the null hypothesis. So if alternate hypothesis is accepted through your analytical studies, the null hypothesis will be rejected. And if alternate hypothesis is rejected, you will accept the null hypothesis, right? So basically in a hypothesis, there is no difference. In alternate hypothesis, there is a difference. So I have raised a problem, a question. There's an example. The research question says that, do customers exhibit store loyalty? I have a store, I am the owner of this store, a shop, and I wanted to know those customers who visit my store, my shop, whether they are loyal or not to my stores, or they come to my store for purchasing anything by chance. Okay, so this is the question in my mind. do customers exhibit store loyalty? So for this research question, I raised an objective. A research objective is to identify the customer's loyalty towards my store. To identify the customer's loyalty towards my store. To fulfill this objective, I have formulated a hypothesis. I proposed a hypothesis that customers of the store are loyal. I wanted to prove this, that the customers who visit my store are loyal. They do not come by chance, but they are loyal. Okay, so this is the alternate hypothesis I am testing. There is no need to mention the null hypothesis because it is obvious that opposite will be the null hypothesis. So you need to understand these basic concepts first of all before undergoing your research work. All the three things, question, objective, and hypothesis, must be aligned with each other. Okay, then only it will be help you to find out the accurate solution for your problem. So the research hypothesis is customers of this store are loyal. So I need to prove this hypothesis. So I will collect the data from the customers. I will do the data analysis, and then I will interpret the results, and then we'll find out the solution by proving the hypothesis, by accepting the hypothesis, alternate hypothesis, or rejecting the alternate hypothesis. So in case if the alternate hypothesis is accepted, that is customers of the store are loyal. So I will say that the customers exhibit store loyalty. Customers of my store are loyal towards my store. Okay. If the alternate hypothesis is rejected, I will accept the null hypothesis, and I will say that the customers who visit my store are not loyal. They come by chance. Okay. They are not loyal enough. Now, the second research study what I will conduct as an extension of this research work is why they are not loyal. Okay, what I need to do so that my customers become loyal for me. Okay, so this is how the decisions, management decisions is being taken, and the organizations conduct research work, and they take decisions, and they formulate the strategies. Okay. So KZ Rahman has asked the question, find difficult in objective formation, what to do? Your question is not very much clear to me. KZ Rahman, anybody please unmute KZ Rahman. KZ Rahman, can you please speak to me? I need to understand more about your query.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening,
Good
sir.
evening.
Actually,
Yeah.
To formulate the objective, just you have answered also. Just to formulate the objective, what are the points to be considered, and while based on the title, sir.
It should be based on your research questions, what you have formulated. You can see in this example, right?
Yes, sir.
The question is, do customer exhibit store loyalty?
Yes.
So there is one objective for one question only, right? There is no need to formulate n number of objectives. I have seen thesis where 7, 8, 9 objectives have been formulated, which is not at all required. It should be specific enough related to your topic and your research question only.
Okay, sir. There is a confusion regarding the title, sir. Based on the title only, the objective is defined. Yes, sir. Research title.
See, research title is basically information about your research work, right?
Yes,
The important part is research question.
Yes,
what is research question in your mind? For
Yes,
what problem you need to find out the solution? So research question is the base of your research objectives. Title is just a information.
Okay.
To the outer world, what
Yes,
you have done, right?
Okay.
So as I previously said, three things are generally required to mention in the title. And that is, one is area of your study, where you have conducted and how you are conducted. Area of your study is say store loyalty. Okay. Where you have conducted, that is in which area, who was the respondents, that is the customers.
Yes, sir.
Okay. customers of where, say Mumbai region,
Okay, sir.
because your store belongs to Mumbai. It is located in Mumbai, right? And how you conducted, whether it was an empirical study, a theoretical framework, or a case study. So these three information must be present in any research title, which will give a small indication, a briefing about what you have done in your research work. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So research title will not help you to formulate your research question and objective. Research question, objective, and hypothesis must be aligned.
Okay, sir. Got your point, sir. So
Yeah.
nice of you. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Okay. Any other doubt to anybody else? Please ask, or I will move forward. Okay. Actually.
So based on three objectives we can work on, sir. Maximum how many objectives permissible?
There is no limit, right?
Yes, sir.
There is no limit of objectives. There is no standard. It totally depends on the extent, your research work. To what extent you wanted to conduct your research work. One objective is also fine, 10 objectives is also fine, but 10 objectives must be justified enough. Unnecessary incursions of objectives is not required. It should be totally related, aligned to your research questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So after formulating the research hypothesis, we will try to identify the research design. That is how our research work will be conducted in future. So basically there are three types of research design: exploratory, descriptive, and causal research design. Exploratory is basically to explore the things, to get a general idea, knowledge about your area of study. Basically secondary research and data analysis, secondary data collection is the method of exploratory research design, literature review. Then descriptive and causal research design comes under conclusive research design, which help you to draw conclusions. So we call it as conclusive research design. So with the help of descriptive and causal research design, you can draw conclusions. So descriptive research design helps you to describe the characteristics of the respondents. Okay, the relationships between the variables. It can be done through descriptive research designs. Causal research design is basically known as cause and effect relationships, wherein you can find out the effect of independent variables on the dependent variables. Okay, effect of one variable on another variable, how they are related to each other. Do they move in the similar direction or they move in the opposite direction? They are directly related or indirectly related, right? Suppose increase in income will increase the sales of gold or not. Okay, or increase in price will increase the sales of gold or not. So increase in income will increase the sales of gold, directly proportional. Increase in price of gold will decrease the sales of gold, inversely proportional. So both are related with the sales of gold, but they are inversely proportional. So relationships, their effect, their impact can be judged through causal research. Okay. So on the basis of our research question, our hypothesis, we need to decide whether we need to move with exploratory research or descriptive research or causal research. Okay. So when to use which? So first of all, we need to identify whether our data is numerical or theoretical, narrative. If it is narrative, it means it is theoretical. We will go for historical research. If it is based on past or current events, or not about the events, just enhancing the knowledge of a subject area, we will talk about qualitative research. Okay. If our data is numerical, it means we are collecting primary data and we need to conduct a data analysis, then it is a numerical data. And if we need to go for cause and effect relationship, that is causal research, we will identify the independent and dependent variables, and then we will decide whether we need to conduct certain experiments or we need to compare the results. Okay, and if it is not the cause and effect relationship, then we will go for relationship prediction. That is just we need to identify the relationships only. So we will go for descriptive research design or correlational research design, right? So if the data is narrative, exploratory research is required. If data is numerical, descriptive research or causal research, that is cause and effect relationship. These two research are required. So it depends on our research framework, that to what extent we need to conduct our research work, we will decide our research design accordingly. Okay. As I said, exploratory research design based on literature review, experience surveys, and case studies. Conclusive research design includes two: descriptive and causal research. Descriptive research is cross-sectional and longitudinal. Cross-sectional means between different cross-sections, between different sections. For example, you wanted to identify the preference of, say, perfumes in your society. Okay. So you will divide your society in different cross sections, different clusters. For example, on the basis of the age groups or on the basis of gender, right? So these are different cross sections. So if you're considering only gender or only age, this is single cross section. So you need to identify the preference of perfumes on the basis of gender, single cross section, male prefer or female preference. Okay, on the basis of age. So this is single cross sectional. There you are divided all the population into 3 or 4 age groups. So this is single cross section. When you are considering more than 2 or more than 2 cross sectional clusters, demographic factors, say gender, age, and income, all the 3 you have considered, you call it as a multiple cross-sectional. So you're identifying characteristics of the population on the basis of demographic factors like gender, age, or income for a particular study area, right? And longitudinal, it is related to time frames. Suppose you wanted to check the efficacy of a drug. You have identified a new molecule to kill corona. Okay, so corona vaccine you have identified. Now you wanted to check the efficacy of that particular drug, whether it is effective in corona patients or not. Okay, so you will check it in a longitudinal manner. So suppose today you have tested, and then after 10 days again you will test, then after 20 days again you will test. So whether it is effective after a certain period of time or not. This is known as longitudinal case studies, descriptive studies. Okay. And the conclusive, there is another cause and effect relationship, cause and effect research design, that is known as causal research design. These are basically the experimental research designs where we conduct experiments. We check the effect of one variable on the other variables, their relationships, and their effect on each other. So 3 types of research designs are there: before and after without control design, after only with control design, and before and after with control designs. Right. So experiments are conducted on the basis of the before effect and after effect. So there are certain control designs. There are some factors which are to be kept controlled. So control designs are important. Control factors are important, and the readings, the experimental readings to be taken before the effect and after the effect. So this is what BA without CD, without any control design, before and after. After only with control design, it means after controlling, we are checking the effects only after the treatment, and before and after with control design. Okay, so before also and after also of the treatment effects with keeping the controlled factors under control. Okay, so these are the 3 variations of experiments. You can explore this in a more detailed manner through internet, or you can ask me, discuss me later. If I go to explain this in detail, it will take much time. Okay, chaliye. ठीक है. This you can read later. I will share the slides. Difference between all the 3 research designs: exploratory, descriptive, and causal research design. You can undergo it later. Again, this is a difference. Okay. Next is sampling. Important part is sampling. Sampling, what is sampling? It is a selection of individual observations out of the population that will help you to represent the population. See, it's not possible for researchers to collect data from whole population. Suppose the population of Mumbai is say 50 lakhs. So it's not possible for researchers to collect data from all the 50 lakhs individuals. So you need to identify a sample respondents who will represent the whole population of Mumbai, that is 50 lakhs, right? So minimum that particular number you need to collect the data. That is what known as sampling. and that sampling should be appropriately segregated from whole Mumbai. So Mumbai is so large, it's very big area. If you collect data from one particular portion, again it will not represent whole Mumbai. If you collect data from one particular age level, again it will not represent whole of Mumbai. Okay, unless only you are conducting research work for only that age group. Okay, so if you are conducting research for whole Mumbai, all individuals will be involved. All individuals will be the population. So you need to sample the things, sample the population very strategically. Okay, that is what known as sampling. So there are two types of sampling techniques: probability and non-probability sampling techniques. Probability means equal chances of getting selected. Every individual on the population has equal chances of getting selected as in the sample. Non-probability sampling technique is non-equal chances of getting selected. Okay, so there are 4 types of probability sampling techniques. I must say probability is better than non-probability always. Okay, so simple random sampling, systematic, stratified, and cluster. I hope everybody is aware or understand this sampling techniques. Do I need to explain this? Okay. If you have any doubt, you can ask me later. Simple, random, systematic, stratified, and cluster. There are 5 types of non-probability sampling techniques: quota, purposive, convenience, judgmental, and snowball. These are non-probability sampling techniques. The respondents do not have equal chance of getting selected. The most common sampling what we researchers use in our studies, in as far as business research is concerned, we always use convenience sampling technique, right? Because convenience sampling is the sampling where the samples has been selected on the basis of the convenience of the researcher. Okay, actually. There are on the basis of the sampling technique, we select one sample from which we will collect the data, the primary data we will collect from those respondents. But what will be the number of that sample which will represent the population? What will be the minimum number of respondents which will represent the population? That has to be maintained. That minimum number is basically known as sample size. It means minimum this number of samples you have to collect. Okay, so there are various techniques available in literature to calculate the sample size. One simpler technique, simpler formula I have mentioned here in this slide, where n, small n is the sample size, which is equals to capital N, that is size of the population, divided by 1 plus size of the population into margin of error square. On the basis of this, you can calculate your sample size. Margin of error is the significance level you are considering in your research work, either 3%, 1%, 5%, or 10%. In business research, we generally take the confidence level as 95% and the significance level as 5%. That is 5% there is a chances of error. So you are considering 5% error. Okay, biological studies, clinical studies should have 99.9% of confidence, right? So there should be chance of only 0.01% error. Business research has been conducted with 95% confidence. Okay. So it depends on to what extent you are considering the level of error. So here, if we have considered 3% level of error, so we have calculated sample size. Population is 5346, margin of error is 3%. So we have calculated, and the minimum sample size is what we received from the calculating the formula is 920. So it should, so your sample should not go beyond 920. It should be above 920 always. Okay. So there are various other formulas and calculators available in the internet to calculate the minimum sample sizes. Actually, while preparing a framework, we also talked about identifying after research objective, research hypothesis. We also talk about research variables. So generally, we know 2 types of research variables: independent variable and dependent variable. Okay, so independent variable are predictors, dependent variable are the outcome. In research, we generally consider these two types of variables, independent variable and dependent variable. But there are various variables available also, which we can which we can consider in our studies. Like one is mediating or intervening variables, moderating variables, control variables. Control variables are those variables which we talked about in causal research design, control designs. Okay, these are control variables where the variables has to be kept under control. And the last one is extraneous variables, confounding variables. Okay, so these are the different 5 types of variables which are generally involved in research work. So what are these variables? So independent variables are the predictors which predict the outcome, that is the dependent variables. Okay, we have certain control variables. When we conduct our research work under certain control conditions, we call it as a control factor. Okay, so for example, independent variable for purchasing the gold. Okay, sales of gold is a dependent variable. So what all variables that will affect the sales of gold? Sale price, say season, and income. Price of gold, the season, and the income of people in that city. Okay, so these are the 3 factors which considered and that will decide the sales of gold. That is the outcome. So these 3 factors are independent variable, and sale of gold is the dependent variable. Okay, there might be certain influencers, intervening variables, what we call it as a mediating variable, which can affect the relationship between independent and dependent variable. Okay, either it will increase the effect or decrease the effect, right? So for example, season is there, suppose the season of marriages, so we expect that the increase of sales of gold will, there will be increase in sales of gold. Okay, effect of income is there on the sales of gold, and the price also affect. We expect these 3 independent variables will affect the dependent variable. Okay, but there is an intermediate mediating variable, say lockdown is the mediating variable. Okay, so whether there is an effect, whether this lockdown has decreased the sales of gold or increased the sales of gold, right? So this lockdown is acting as a mediating variable. It will either lower the effect of independent or dependent variable, or increases the effect of independent or dependent variable. This is the mediating effect. Okay, there are certain moderating variables also, generally demographic factors like age or gender. We consider them as a moderating variable, which can moderate the effect, which will moderate the effect of independent variables on the dependent variables. There are certain extraneous variables also, which are confounding variables, which directly affect the dependent variable, and which are generally not considered in business research, in social research, but they are available, and we do not have any control on those extraneous variables. Okay, so they are generally neglected and not considered in research studies, but they are available. Okay, that's why you do not get 100% results that are known as extraneous variables. Okay, so today we will only study about independent and dependent variables, but tomorrow when we will understand Mos, we will also include mediating and moderating variables. Yeah, any doubt till now?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, this is Professor Mukund here.
Yeah.
Sir, may I request you to please give a break somewhere around 5:15 for 10 minutes?
Sure, sure.
Yes, sir. 5:15 to 5:25, we can go for a break, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Okay, this is just a snapshot of how the research variables is being considered. So the objective is to check the effect of teaching technique on student subject mastery. To what extent the students are master in a particular subject. And we are trying to check the impact of teaching techniques. Okay, so independent variable is teaching technique, dependent variable is student subject mastery. So generally in social research, we consider this independent and dependent variable and we check the relationship between these variables. But there are other variables which can be considered while conducting such studies. So mediating variables will be language learning process or sitting arrangements. This may affect the relationship between the independent and dependent variables. These are known as mediating variables. Moderating variables may moderate the relationship, like age and gender of the students. This may moderate the relationships, or this can alter the relationship also. So independent, dependent, and first teaching technique was independent and mastery was dependent. Moderating variable may reverse these relationships also. It may happen. So these are known as moderating variables. Okay. I request the participants, other one to please mute the mic. Mukund sir, please mute the mic. Okay. There are certain control variables also which we need to keep in under control for every participant. That is classroom temperature. So you can understand. Request to please mute yourself. So control variables are classroom temperature will be controlled for each and every participant in the classroom. So these are known as control variables. Okay. And the last one, extraneous variable, that is complexity of the subject. This extraneous variable is out of control of the researcher. There is no interference of researcher in this extraneous variable, but of course they are present. Right. So these are the 6 types of variables which we can consider in our studies. So to what extent you are considering your variable will help you to make your study more effective. If you are considering mediating variable, your study will be more effective. If you're considering control variables also, then your study will be more effective. There might be chances where control variables are deviating your results. Okay, so might be few of the students are under certain control conditions and few of the students are under certain control conditions. So if you change the room temperature for few students and if you keep some other temperature for some other few students, whether these control variables are affecting or not on this student subject mastery. Okay, so you can check this thing also, whether control variables are affecting or not. Right. Okay. So this is how research variables can be decided. Research instrument is another important thing. After identifying the variables, you need to draw certain research instruments. Instruments are those measurement devices which help you to measure something. So if I ask you to measure the height of all the students in the class, you will use a measuring tape and the unit will be inches or foot or centimeter, right? So inch tape, the measuring tape is the measuring device, measuring instrument to measure the height with certain unit. If I ask you to measure the weight, you will be using weighing scale, kgs or pounds will be the unit, right? What about the behavioral subjects, behavioral aspects? What is the satisfaction level of participants attending this workshop? So this is a behavioral aspect, how you're going to measure the satisfaction level or the motivation level of the students to attend the class. So these are the behavioral aspects. You have to create instrument, a device to measure these behavioral aspects. This is known as research instruments. So behavioral studies are more difficult to draw the measuring instruments. Okay. So these instruments are basically being drawn with the help of secondary data through literature review, with the help of models of other previous researchers, and you can utilize those instruments in your own studies. And to identify the accuracy of these instruments, there are certain tests like validity and reliability testing, which will help you to make your instrument more reliable and valid to prove your hypothesis and objectives. Okay, so instruments designing is again an important task as far as research is concerned, and understanding of designing an instrument is very important. Unless and until your instrument is not good enough, it will not help you to give you the correct results. Okay. So on the basis of the research instrument, you will draw the questionnaire. A questionnaire will be prepared, which is a format that has to be enough for data collection. You will distribute to the respondents to collect the data. Okay. So there are two types of questions in the questionnaire, generally open-ended and closed-ended. I hope everybody know about this. So we will not discuss. Scaling technique is important. Shall we take a break of 10 to 15 minutes? It's 17:13, 5:13. Okay, let's meet at 5:30 again, and then we will start with sampling techniques.
So thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Anybody have any doubt, please ask. Others can please join me on 5:30. Mediating variable. This can be mediating variable. Moderating variable is generally where the demographic characteristics is considered. They are moderating variables, as like gender. Okay. So male and female may have different preference or liking. So gender will act as a moderating variable. Okay, we will discuss this tomorrow in detail, mediating and moderating variable.
It's 5:30. So with your permission, if you say, we can start the session again, sir.
Yeah, we can start.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So I hope everybody is back. All the participants are back.
So we could see 36 as of now as a participant. I think some 10 people are there yet to join, because the number was above 50 today.
Yeah. So let's wait for 2-3 minutes.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. So in the meantime, I could see one of the question into Q&A by Tenzi Thomas. She has asked a question. So can you please again explain null and alternative hypothesis?
Okay.
By Tenzi Thomas, I think.
See, Tenzi Thomas is there or not?
Mr. Thomas, are you there?
I don't think so.
I think he has not yet joined. Great, yeah.
So there's no point to explain. So let's start here. It's 5:32.
Sure, sir. People will keep on joining.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, participants, welcome back. Let's start this session again. We were talking about scaling techniques. Okay, so there are 4 types of scaling techniques: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scale. Nominal is basically a kind of multiple choice where you have certain options and you have to take one. Like for example, gender. All the demographic characteristics are nominal scale, like gender, age, or what is the color of your hair, right? So you have to check or select only one option. That is known as nominal scale. When you talk about ranking between 2 or more than 2 options, you call it as an ordinal scale. For example, what is the preference of the soft drink for you? Okay, out of 3 options, say Pepsi, Coca-Cola, and Thumbs Up. So you will rank number 1 to Pepsi, rank number 2 to Coca-Cola, and rank number 3 to Thumbs Up. Okay, so out of these three, you will most prefer Pepsi first, then Thumbs Up, and then Coca-Cola, and the third option you will select Thumbs Up. Okay, so when we talk about preferences, ranking the items, we call it as ordinal scale. Okay, interval scale is basically scale used for behavioral studies. It is an instrument to measure the behavioral constructs, wherein you have agreement or disagreement, importance or not important uh, options for the statements you have given. Like for example, it is mentioned, I am satisfied with the psychology as a major. So you will either agree or disagree on this 5-point scale. So Likert scale is the most preferred interval scale. Most of you have heard about this Likert scale. It is 5-point, 7-point or 9-point scale, where the differences are equal between all the points, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, between 3 and 4. The differences are equal, but the value of 0 is null here. There is no value of 0 here, right? So these are the known as interval scale. These are known as continuous scale also. Generally, we use interval scale in our studies. And the last one is ratio scale. Ratio scale is also continuous scale, but which has a value of 0 actually. So it starts from 0. So we measure anything from 0 here. So speedometer, which is there, which measures the speed of the vehicle, it is a ratio scale. Okay, so if your vehicle is standing, what is the speed of your vehicle? You will say it's a 0. Okay, if your vehicle is running with 20 kilometers per hour, what is the speed of your vehicle? We will call it as a 20 kilometer per hour. How it is measured? It is measured with reference to the 0. Your vehicle is running with 50 kilometer per hour. My vehicle is running with 80 kilometer per hour. So what is the difference between 50 and 30? If 50 and 80, it is 30 kilometer per hour. But how it is measured? With reference to the 0 scale, right? So this is known as ratio scale. Again, it is a continuous scale. So these are the 4 types of scales. These scales are generally used in the questionnaire to collect the data. Okay, fine. So there are 2 types of data, quantitative and qualitative data. And quantitative, there are 2 types of data, discrete and continuous. And discrete means the data is countable and has only whole numbers, like number of defects, number of customers' complaints, right? So these are a single number. They are known as discrete data. Continuous data is when the data is in a continuous scale, say temperature, length, height. Okay, so these are continuous data. Age. So this continuous discrete data comes in the quantitative data. Qualitative data is the data can only be categorized. So categorical data are all qualitative data, like gender or yes or no. The dichotomous scale, if you have heard, this comes under qualitative data. So this all are the data which are generally used to collect the responses from the respondents and also help to us to analyze the and prove the hypothesis, right? Actually, so the type of test what we choose also depends on the type of data what we have collected. It will help us to select the correct data, test to be used for analysis on the basis of the type of data also collected. So there's a research example I will show you how research work is being conducted or what we have studied right now. Okay. So the title of the study is a study on the impact of intrinsic motivation on turnover intention of employees of steel companies of Chhattisgarh, right? So see the impact of intrinsic motivation on turnover intention. Intrinsic motivation is the independent variable. Turnover intention is a dependent variable. You can identify these things from the title itself. Intrinsic motivation on turnover intention. You're identifying the impact of one variable on another variable. It means this is the causal research design. You're conducting an empirical study where you're conducting, who are the samples? Samples are the employees from where? Steel companies of Chhattisgarh. Right, so this is a complete title which is giving basic information about your research work. So this is how the title is being formulated. So the research question what has been posed for this research work is, does intrinsic motivation affect turnover intention? Question mark. This is the research question, typical research question. So one objective has been formulated for one research question, that is to identify the impact of intrinsic motivation on turnover intention. And the research hypothesis is mentioned as intrinsic motivation has significant impact on turnover intention. So this is the alternate hypothesis that has been mentioned here, what we wanted to prove. We wanted to test on the alternate hypothesis, that is intrinsic motivation has significant impact on turnover intention. Obviously, the opposite will be the null hypothesis. There is no need to mention the null hypothesis. Okay, in various theses I have seen both the hypothesis has been mentioned. It is obvious, it is understood, null hypothesis will be opposite. So no need to mention it. So what you are testing on, you need to mention that only, and that we always test on alternate hypothesis. So we will mention alternate hypothesis only. It is always in a positive sense, what we wanted to prove. That's why we mention it as an alternate hypothesis, right? So for this particular study, I have identified 4 independent variables as a predictors. It is interest, enjoyment, effort, importance, perceived competence, and relaxation contentedness. These are 4 independent variables. Literature says that these are the independent variables which affect the dependent variable. Various authors has been mentioned here. Dependent variables, turnover, intention. Okay, so there are 4 sub-hypotheses on the basis of 4 independent variables. X1 has significant impact on Z, so on, X1, X2, X3, and X4. Okay, so we can prove the sub-hypothesis, all the 4 sub-hypotheses, and one main hypothesis also. This is the research model that has been created: interest, effort, perceived competence, and relaxation, and with 4 sub-hypotheses, 2 turnover intention. This is how a research model is created. Okay, this is how a research instrument is created. This is the one research instrument to measure the study, to measure the model. Okay, but there are various items. The scale, what you call it as a scale. The scale to measure turnover intention consists of 3 items. How you prepare this scale? With the help of turnover intention scale of Donial and Ivanich of 1985. So you have taken turnover intention scale of Donial and Ivanich of 1985 for your study, and this scale will measure turnover intention, and this scale consists of 3 items. Okay, so this is how you formulate the instrument, the measuring instrument to measure a particular variable. Likewise, intrinsic motivation inventory of Rand, Mims, and Questionnaire of 1983 have been utilized to measure the intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation consists of 4 antecedents, right? Interest, enjoyment can be measured with the help of one scale consisting of 3 items. Likewise, effort, importance can be measured with one scale consist of 3 items. So this intrinsic motivation can be measured with 12 item scale, 3 for each. Okay, and turnover intention can be measured with 3 item scale. So overall 15 items scale is being prepared to measure the model. This is how research instrument is prepared. So research instrument consists of items scale in statement form. We have to convert these items to scale in the question form. Okay. So for example, enjoyed doing the activity. In the interest enjoyment X11, it is mentioned enjoyed doing the activity. Now you have to convert it into a questionnaire form. So if you are asking the respondents in a 5-point Likert scale, saying disagreement to agreement with the statement, of 1 being strongly agree, 5 being strongly disagree. Okay.
But sir, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sir.
This research instrument, it is a standard for application in various studies. Is it a model, sir, for research?
No. It is not a standard one basically. See, there are certain instruments which are standard to measure certain things. For example, how you will measure weight. Weighing instrument is a standardized one. It has been standardized. ISI मार्क वाला वेइंग स्केल लोगे तो कंफर्म रहेगा कि सही होगा। बिना ISI वाला मार्क वाला लोगे स्केल तो शायद वो गलत दे आपको वेट आपका, ठीक है। तो वैलिडिटी होना उसकी बहुत जरूरी है और वो स्टैंडर्डाइज स्केल तभी कहलाता है। So as far as behavioral studies are concerned, there are certain instruments which has been standardized for certain behavioral aspects, but it's not necessary that you always consider those instruments only. There are n number of instruments available. For example, to check the motivation of an individual, you can utilize Maslow's need hierarchy theory, Maslow's need hierarchy model you can consider to measure the motivation level, right? So, but Maslow's is a standardized scale, no problem. But there are n number of other scales available. So you can choose any of the scale according to your choice, your type of study. Okay.
Okay, I thought that what you are presenting in this, they are standard.
No. This is just one example I'm showing you.
Okay.
For measuring turnover intention or for measuring intrinsic motivation, there are n number of scales available in the literature. You can use any of these scales.
Okay. I thought that as a researcher, I need not go for these as a template for my studies.
No. This is not a template. You can use this also. You can use any scale also available in the literature.
Okay, sir.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
So there are two methods actually to use the research instrument. One, you directly use from the literature. You take it from the literature and use for your study. For that, sometimes permission is also required from the original researcher. Okay, so you have to take permission from them. There might be some copyright issue, or you can use with certain modification and alterations, right? Or you as a researcher create your own scale. But this is a very tedious job. It's a very difficult time-taking process, right? So because you have to undergo pilot testing, what we call pre-testing also. Before undergoing final testing, final analysis, you have to test your scale, whether that scale what you are using is good to fulfill your objectives or not, if you are preparing your own scale. So validity and reliability testing and number of times, and all the validity and reliability testing has to be done for finalizing or standardizing an instrument. But this is a tedious job and it is a time-taking job, and generally we do not go for standardizing or preparing our own scale. So we borrow already available scale which are standardized one, prepared by other researchers, right? So either we need to take permission or we need to modify that scale according to our requirements. But before utilizing it for final analysis, once we need to undergo validity and reliability testing, because we have changed the settings, the research settings, right? Well, this scale has been prepared by Doniel and Ivanovich to measure turnover intention in US 40 years back. Now things has changed. You are changing the place also. In India you are testing, right? So you are borrowing this scale, but it's not necessary that this will be valid and reliable for your data. So before undergoing final analysis, you have to undergo at least once, that is reliability and validity, and you need to check the validity and reliability for your instrument, whether it is actually measuring what you intend to measure or not. Okay, this is how research instrument is being prepared. Any doubt till now? Anyone?
Thank you, sir.
Anyone? Okay. So the research instrument has been prepared. Now we will prepare the questionnaire, and then we will distribute this questionnaire to the sample population, and we will collect the data, and then we will undergo testing, data analysis, and then we will prove the hypothesis formulated. So before that, we will also plan the research methodology. Research design will be exploratory and causal research. Data collection, primary and secondary. A structured questionnaire will be research instrument. Measurement scale will be Likert scale. It can be 5-point or 7-point. Sampling design is non-probabilistic convenience sampling. So we opted for convenience sampling, and then we will try to find out the employees who are near to us, who we can reach to the employees, And then the minimum sample size, what we decided is 500. Sample location is selected steel companies of Chhattisgarh, and sample unit is employees of steel companies. Yes, any doubt?
Sir, I think in chat box, there is one question asked by Mr. Rajkumar.
Yes.
What is the question? Sir, if we cite these scales, then is it necessary to take permission?
Cite
Question
the
asked by
scales.
Mr. Rajkumar has asked this question.
Yeah. It is always desirable to take permission from the original researcher, original author. It is always desirable, which will authenticate your instrument, what you're utilizing for your study, right? So it is always recommended to take the permission if you're utilizing their scale. If it is not freely available, if disclaimer is there or copyright issue is there, you find it in the website where you have taken this scale, okay? So you have to take permission. If not, you can make some changes. You can do the alterations as per your requirement. Then there is no issue of taking the permission, right? So if you are using that scale as it is, no changes has been done, then you need to take the permission. It is always recommended. Otherwise, in later stage, if the author claims the copyright issue, then you will be in trouble then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is how the research plan and sample plan is being decided in any research work. And then we'll also decide what statistical tools and statistical techniques we will utilize. In this, we have utilized SPSS. You can name the version also. And the techniques what we utilize to prove the hypothesis is vector analysis and regression. This is how a typical research methodology has been mentioned. Okay, actually. Once the data has been collected, this is how it is being presented in the Excel sheet. This is, you can see as an example, serial number in the first column, then demographic informations, designation, location, gender, and experience. All has been coded because softwares generally read numbers only. Okay, so you have to code on the basis of your understanding, designation, location, gender, and experience. Then in the first row, you can see the items name, X1, X2, X3, X4, right? And then the data from the respondents which has been collected in the 7-point scale, Likert scale has been mentioned, and the responses has been mentioned. This is how a typical data in Excel sheet looks like. Okay, you have to convert the hard data into in a soft copy. But nowadays we generally collect data through Google Sheets, Google Forms, and we can directly get the data from the Google Forms. Okay, so it is the job has been made easier now. Chali. So we have understood the basics and background of research. Let's talk about statistics. We will go very fast. Statistics क्या होते हैं? Statistics, descriptive, relational, and inferential. In descriptive, we talk about mean, median, mode, dispersion, and standard deviation, dispersion, and central tendency. Okay, central tendency is mean, median, mode, dispersion, standard deviation, variance. This is descriptive. Okay, mean, median, mode, you know. Okay, central tendency, dispersion, descriptive statistics, skewness, kurtosis, you know already, you have seen yesterday. I hope you know this bell-shaped curve. Skewness, kurtosis, you know yesterday and before yesterday you have seen this. Relational statistics, which talks about the relationship between the variables, the correlation as the test where we check the relationship between the variables. Yes, correlation. Okay. So between one variable, we call it as univariate, bivariate, and multivariate. Okay. Okay, univariate studies uses all such test, one sample. If there is a metric data or non-metric data, if metric data, one sample, you will use t-test, z-test. If two or more samples, independent pair t-test and related, then one we know or regression. Non-metric data means non-normal data, one sample. In one sample, you will use frequency chi-square or KS test. Two or more than two samples. If it is independent, you will use chi-square, Mann-Whitney. And in two for more samples, you will use Sine, Wilcoxon, McNamara, or chi-square test, right? You can take this snapshot. I will send this presentation also. You can take this snapshot and you can decide according to the number of variables and type of data you have collected, which test is suitable for your study. Okay. Okay. Actually, bivariate studies between two variables, correlation. To test the relationship, we use correlation. Multivariate studies, when there are multiple dependent and independent variable, we use various other tests like this. When we talk about dependence techniques and independence technique, when there is a dependence technique, there is one dependent variable. We use ANOVA and COVA, multiple regression, discriminant analysis, or conjoint analysis. When there is more than one dependent variable, it happens when there is more than one dependent variable. We use MANOVA, MANCOVA, canonical correlation, and multiple discriminant analysis. Okay. When there is an interdependence of variables, so when there is an interdependence of variables, it means variables does not depend on each other. Factor analysis, exploratory factor analysis is the technique. Basically, when there are no dependence between the variables, we can cluster them. So in variable interdependence technique, factor analysis is used, and inter-object similarity, when there is a similarity within the object, within the variable, when there is a similarity, and but they are different from other objects or other variables, we use cluster analysis or multidimensional scaling. Okay. So these are the various multivariate techniques. You can decide which technique, which test you can use depending on the variables. Okay. Actually, inferential techniques, when we need to draw the inferences, the conclusion, when we have drawn certain sample from the population and we need to represent the sample to the whole population, like what the sample has said, the whole population will say, it will represent the whole population. It means we are drawing inferences out of the population. We are drawing conclusions out of the population. So we call it as an inferential statistics. Two types, test for difference of means and test for statistical significance. दो तरीके के होते हैं. For difference of means, we use t-test or z-test. And for statistical significances, there are two types of tests, parametric and non-parametric. This is important. Okay. So parametric test and non-parametric test. In parametric test, we always use interval or ratio scale. So if we have used interval and ratio scale, okay, and our data is normal, so we use F-test, T-test, Z-test, ANOVA, and regression. If our data is not normal, okay, it means it is not representing the population, then we use non-parametric test. And if we have collected the data in nominal or ordinal scale, it is difficult for us to get the data normal. So we use non-parametric test. So the tests are chi-square, Mann-Whitney's U-test, and Kruskal-Wallis test. These are the tests meant for non-parametric data. Okay. So non-parametric are distribution free. It means there is no botheration of normality. If your data is non-normal, so you can use non-parametric test. Also, if you have collected data in nominal or ordinal scale. When you are talking about normality, your data is normal, okay, and you have collected data in interval and ratio scale, you can use parametric test. So parametric test for one sample, Z-test, T-test, two samples, Z-test, unpaired T-test, paired T-test, and ANOVA is used. For multiple samples, one factor ANOVA and two factor ANOVA is used. For non-parametric test, one sample chi-square, non-parametric test. Remember, this is non-parametric test. If you have one sample, chi-square, Kolmogorov test, and run test. If you have two samples, you can use chi-square, Sine, Wilcoxon, and Mann-Whitney's test. Okay. If you have multiple samples, Kruskal-Wallis test is used. This is for non-parametric. That is, your data is not normal, or you have collected data in ordinal or nominal scale. Okay. This is the summary what I have told you right now. Okay. Sure. Okay. Now let's talk about data analysis. Okay. So we have understood research question, research objective, hypothesis, model, and then instrument, questionnaire, sampling, how the sampling has been done, type of data, and there are various type of statistical tests, and which type of test is can be selected for what. We have undergone these things. So basics of research has been done, basics of statistics has been understood by us. Now it's time for data analysis. We have collected the data, we have drawn the research framework, we have collected the data. Now it's time to prove the hypothesis with the help of data analysis. Okay. Selecting test is very important. This is a framework. You can take the snapshot, you can click the picture. Which particular test is selected for what? So depending on the scale, nominal, ordinal, and interval and ratio scale, and depending on the number of samples, number of variables, right? You can select which test can be selected for what. Actually, so next is processing and analyzing. The Pooja has raised her hand. She has doubt. Please unmute her. Pooja.
Unmuted.
Yeah, Pooja, you have certain question? Pooja, are you there? Okay, I will proceed. So now we need to process and analyze the data in the Excel sheet. Okay, so first of all, we will convert our data in an Excel sheet. It requires editing and coding, that is known as data preparation and tabulation. Okay, so how we will prepare the data? This is a typical data sheet in Excel. We need to follow certain guidelines in the form of data preparation and tabulation before we move for further final analysis. That is, we need to remove all cases having same answers to each question. So certain respondents are not very much interested to provide responses, okay, but they are bound to give responses, so they do not seriously give responses. So they make some peculiar pattern in giving the responses, right? So some might give answers to all questions, say 1 or say 5 or say 4. Okay, so a typical pattern, you need to search and you need to remove those responses, like all 1 or all 4 or all 7, right? You also need to see incomplete responses, incomplete questionnaire, remove all missing responses. You have to remove it, and because it will distort your analysis. Then you need to study the pattern of answers also. Some respondents give in a particular pattern, say 147, 147, 147 to all the questions. You need to identify this responses also, and you need to discard those responses. You can sometimes call the respondents and you can ask if they have given the responses correctly or not. Okay, you need to code the categorical data, like for gender, you have coded male as 1 and female as 2. So you have to code it in the Excel sheet. So all the categorical variable demographic characteristics has to be coded in numbers. And this is the descriptive statistics of demographic responses. You can easily calculate it in Excel. Same can be done in Spss also. Okay. Each respondent should be identified with a unique record. So record number or serial number you can mention. Okay. And each question has to be coded in some typical numbers, say x11, x12, x13, x21, x22, x23, as previously we did. You need to identify common errors. It means all the data must have same unit. For example, you have collected the height of the respondents. Some have answered, if you have given this question as an open-ended question, right? So some might have answered height in centimeters, some might have answered in inches, or some might have answered in feet. So you will directly transpose the data from hard copy to Excel sheet, and you will not change the unit, then your analysis will be distorted. Your data results will be distorted. Okay, so you need to convert it into same unit. There might be prefixes also in the Excel sheet, for example, rupees 200 or 30 years. So you need to remove these prefixes and suffixes. Only figures, only numbers has to be mentioned in the Excel sheet. Okay. So let's talk about SPSS. SPSS statistical package for social science. Any doubt till now, anyone? Actually, no doubt. Okay, so SPSS is known as statistical package for social science. It's a typical IBM package. IBM company has launched its software SPSS and Mos also. There are various other softwares for various purposes. SPSS statistics, first one is typical SPSS. There is modeler, there is data collection tool, there are neural networks, there are forecasting tools and analytical decision management tools also. Okay, SPSS statistics include SPSS itself and the Mos software. These two softwares are there. Okay, so how we need to work on data? So these are the 8 things which we need to understand about SPSS. Okay, this is how a new file is being created. Once we open SPSS software, and the typical window, what it's open is like this. Okay, so with the help of this particular window in front, we can upload the data Excel sheet into the SPSS sheet. This is how the data file is opened. It will ask to locate the Excel file saved in your computer, in your laptop. You need to locate the Excel file and you need to upload the data file. Okay, so you need to identify the worksheet and you need to click the continue. So this is the typical data sheet. There are 2 sheets in SPSS window, the data view and variable view. This is the data view where you can see the data exactly as you can see in the Excel sheet. Okay, this is the data view. And another tab is a variable view. This variable view will define the characteristics of the data. In the first sheet data view, you can see the data, and in the variable view, you can see the characteristics of the variables of the data. Okay, so this is the data view and this is the variable view. See, this is the data view. You can see the data. First column is ID, that is serial number, gender, birth date, education, job category, salary. Okay, so this is the data in the data view. In the next tab, there is a variable view. This variable view will categorize, will correct and define the characteristics of the data. That first one is ID. The first column was ID in the data view. Here ID, type is numeric with this 11. There are 0 decimals, values none, missing none, columns 2. Measurement is a scale, nominal, you can see here. So variable views gives you the characteristics of the data. You can alter these characteristics in the variable view itself. Okay, it is required in some of the test. Okay, after analyzing, selecting the test, running the test, another window will open, which is known as output viewer. This output viewer typically looks like this. You can see, and you can now test the interpret the results from this output viewer. Okay. So there are various functions while we open the SPSS file. You can also save the file. Each sheet you can save for your future reference. Okay. So let's talk about data analysis. I will show you how a typical SPSS software is open and it looks like. I have installed SPSS Statistics 21 version. So there are various versions. Current recent version is 26, which is going on. And yes, I know since from 16 version. I worked on 16 when I was working for my PhD in 17, 18, 19, 20. Likewise, currently it's the version what is going on is 26. Okay. So let me help you to how a file is uploaded. I will show you how it is being done. Okay. The software takes some time to open the file. This is how it gets open. See, this is how it is open, and it asks you to upload the data file. Okay, so you can see the first option is open an existing data source. You are working on some file and it is asking you to open an existing data source, and you can also click on open another type of file, any other file which is saved in another version. So you can also ask to upload that file. The SPSS generally saves it in .sav file. Right? There is a Word format, there is an Excel format. SPSS saves in .sav format. The name of the file of SPSS is known at .sav. Okay. So it has been by default checked on open an existing data source. You click on OK, and this window will open. You need to locate the Excel file where it is being saved in your laptop. So check on Excel first in the file of type, and then locate the file where it is situated. For workshop SPSS. So you can see the Excel sheet, what I have forwarded you. Okay. You need to select this file and you need to click on open. So there are various worksheets in that Excel sheet. So you need to select which worksheet you need to work upon. Okay, so you need to select any of the worksheet. Okay, and then click on OK. So data in that particular worksheet will be transferred to the SPSS sheet. Right, this is how the data is being uploaded. So there are various options in the upper side. You can see file, edit, view, data, transform, all have different functions. You can see various icons also. The first icon is folder. Here also you can upload the data. If you click this folder icon, again that format, this window will open and you can upload the data. Okay. There is a save option, this floppy type option. You can save, you can print, you can use recently used dialogues. There are various other options. Yeah, right. In the bottom left hand side, you can see data view and variable view. This is the data view where you can see the data. If you click on variable view, you can see the characteristics of the data uploaded in the data view. Okay. So the first serial number is a scale, then all other are nominal. See, it is mentioned here. Okay, so they are also scales. They are also scales. You can convert those into scales also, but it will not affect our analysis right now. In some certain test, it is required to convert from scale or nominal. It is required. I will tell you where, but but in various tests, it is not required to convert this. Okay, but here you can see if any value is missing or not in any of the columns. If any of the value is missing, it will show you some values are missing, and you need to check and delete that response where the values are missing, or you need to replace it with any of the values. So this is how it typically looks like. The most important, see, you can see the file, you can click the file tab and you can see various options. You can open the new data, you can open some other sheets, save and save as options are there. The most important tab is analyze. This is the tab where all the analytical techniques are available. Okay. So this particular tab is used to analyze your data, right? You need to work on this analyze tab, right? Okay. Actually, so we have understood the introductory part of SPSS, what it is all about. Now the important part of this session, today's session, is working on data, SPSS data analysis. So today we will try to understand about reliability and validity, multiple linear regression, discriminant analysis, logistic regression. Okay, we'll try to understand this, and Poisson regression also. So first talk about validity and reliability. So as I have told you, you have to prepare an research instrument, you have to prepare the questionnaire, and then you need to collect the data. So the instrument through which you have collected the data, that instrument is appropriate or not. We need to test that. I told you, if you are preparing your own instrument, you have to undergo validity and reliability, all the types of validity and reliability. There are various types of validity and reliability, right? If you have borrowed your instrument from previously published instrument, then it's not necessary to undergo all the reliability and validity, but you can undergo one reliability and one validity testing. It's okay.
Just to
Okay. So, but
interrupt, sir.
yeah,
Can we have
yeah,
a full screen,
yeah,
please?
sure, sure, sure,
Yeah,
sure, sure.
yeah.
Also, sir, we are at 6:15. May I request you to please have a break of 10 minutes at 6:20, maybe after 5 minutes.
What you need a break?
Sir, after 5 minutes, just a break of 10 minutes also.
Okay, sure, 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 sure.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So reliability and validity testing. So what is it? Reliability and validity. It is just to understand the measurement instrument are psychologically good or bad. The measurement instrument. Okay. It's a psychological assessment of the instrument. So reliability measures whether the results are consistent every time or not. And validity measures whether the results satisfy the objectives or not, for what it is meant for. So your instrument is valid enough to measure the objectives or not, and your instrument is reliable enough to test it in a similar manner always or not. This is what reliability is. So we need to test this reliability and validity testing. It is very much required because we need to ensure correct results. Okay. So reliability is the method to the extent to which it produces the same result when applied to the same person under different conditions. Okay. So if a questionnaire is being given to me in the morning, I have responded in a particular manner, and the same questionnaire has been given to me in the evening after working for 8 hours in my office. I am exhausted. Okay. I am under stress. And in the evening, I am responding the questions in a different mood. So whether I am giving the same responses or not, the same person. So if the responses are different, it means your questionnaire is not reliable. There's an issue of reliability. So if your responses you are getting similar in any condition, it is known as reliability. So you can rely on your questionnaire, right? So it should measure consistently the same thing. For example, a thermometer, if you wanted to measure the temperature of the child in any situation, if you measure the temperature, it will give you the same temperature what is there in the child. Okay. So you can rely on the thermometer to measure the temperature. So whether your instrument, where you are measuring the behavioral aspect, whether you are able to rely on the instrument or not, this is what reliability is. Okay. So reliability is basically two types: test, retest reliability, and internal consistency. But there are four types, but generally we believe on, or we perform two types of reliability: test, retest, and internal consistency. The four types of reliability are inter-reter, where different people but same test you are giving to different peoples. Okay. In test, retest, same people but different times, whether you are getting reliability of your instrument or not. In parallel forms, different people, same time, but different test. For the same measurement, there can be different tests also. Okay. And internal consistency, different questions, same construct. Different questions, but same construct. This is what internal consistency is. So this is how, with the help of four types of reliability, we can measure the reliability of the instrument. Okay. Internal consistency is basically the Crowbank's coefficient alpha, if you have heard the name. This is the most important tool to check the internal consistency reliability of the instrument. Generally, we use this as a research. We use internal consistency reliability through Crowbank's coefficient alpha only. Okay. Crowbank's coefficient alpha ranges from 0 to 1. Okay. If it is 0.9, it is excellent. If it is between 0.8 to 0.9, it is good. If it is 0.7 to 0.8 acceptable, 0.6 to 0.7 is questionable, 0.5 to 0.6 poor, and below 0.5 it is unacceptable. So you can accept till 0.5, okay, right? But below 0.5, if alpha is below 0.5, it is unacceptable. Crow-Bank's coefficient alpha value should not be below 0.5 in internal consistency reliability. Okay. Validity, I will give the break just after explaining this validity. Okay, validity is the measurement method, is the extent to which it measures the concept that it is supposed to measure. So what is the objective for what you are measuring? If you are measuring the intrinsic motivation of the employees, so the instrument what you formulated, whether it is exactly measuring the intrinsic motivation or not. This is not what validity is. So for example, if I am measuring people's mood and I find that clinically depressed people score same as other people, then what is the use of measuring, right? So it means your instrument is not measuring the mood. So there is an issue of validity, right? So what you are intent to measure, what is your objective, whether it is measuring that thing or not, that is known as validity. So 4 types of validity are there: criterion, content, construct, and phase. Criterion validity says, do the results correspond to a different test of the same thing? It means if you are measuring the performance, so you can utilize different tests to measure the performance, whether all the tests are giving the same results or not. This is criterion validity. Okay. Content validity is the test fully representative of what it is aimed to measure. So there are various items and various antecedents. So whether the items are measuring the antecedents or not, right? So it measures the appropriate content, that is known as content validity. When you talk about construct validity, whether the whole instrument, including all antecedents, all items, whether it is justifying the model developed or not, whether it is be able to justify the hypothesis or not, that is the whole instrument. It is known as construct. And the face validity is how it appears. देखने में कैसा लगता है, that is known as face validity. So sometimes when we try to finalize the questionnaire, we give our questionnaire to few of the respondents, experts, to check whether the questionnaire is correct or not. Okay, so with the help of looking the questionnaire, whether it passes the test or not, yes, your questionnaire is good enough, you can go move ahead. This is known as face validity. Okay, so questionnaire should not be too lengthy and too complex to give answers. Too difficult questions must not be asked. So this can be tested in the face validity. So these are the 4 types of validity which can be tested. Okay, the validity can be tested. The most important validity is construct validity. It means all the variables are confirming your model or not. Okay, all the variables together are confirming or explaining your independent variable or not. So that is known as construct validity, which can be done through factor analysis, or we call exploratory factor analysis also. Okay. So from now we will understand the factor analysis. Theory is completed. We will do practical now. Any doubt till now? Alok has raised the hand.
Sir, criterion validity थोड़ा बता देंगे sir एक बार.
Criterion validity is basically if see your self performance rating and your supervisor's rating for your performance is matching or not. So questionnaire is same. You are rating yourself, okay, and your supervisor is also rating for you. So whether both are giving the same result, that is measuring the performance or not, this is known as criterion validity.
But
Right?
वो तो सर उसमें तो perception और उनका अलग ही रहेगा ना सर, बॉस का तो
नहीं perception अलग रहेगा, but performance measure कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहा है ये depend करता है ना. So for example, जैसे कि आपने intrinsic motivation के समय जो मैंने instrument दिखाया आपको, so you asked whether this instrument is standardized or not. So I said no. This is one of the instrument I preferred, I took. You can take any other instrument also. So there are various instruments to measure intrinsic motivation, right? So if you are taking one instrument, if you take another instrument, whether both the instrument are measuring intrinsic motivation or not, So we will compare two or more than two instruments together, and whether those all the instruments what you are testing are basically measuring the intrinsic motivation or not. This is known as criterion validity.
Okay, that means it
Okay.
pertains to the test basically,
Huh.
or a research instrument.
Whether the research instruments what you are planning to consider
Yeah.
are testing the same thing or not.
Okay, whether it is measuring the criteria or
Yeah,
parameters of the test.
parameter. What is the criteria of your research to test the intrinsic motivation? तो जो आइटम्स आपने लिए हैं वो इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन को मेजर कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे हैं, ये आप मेजर कर, ये आप चेक करोगे.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. This is Mukund here. Sir, we can go for question and answer session. In the meantime, I request to please announce the break of 10 to 15 minutes for all those people who would like to have a break.
No, break of 10 minutes only. Okay. Yeah, it's 16:24. We will start at 16:34.
And it means if you wish, you can take the question answer session, or else you can take up the work.
Yeah. Okay. Now for conducting the factor analysis, okay, I will show you how the Crowback's coefficient alpha has been tested. So go to analyze. Okay. Then go to scale and go to reliability analysis. You can see. So this reliability analysis window will open and you can see all the items here in this box. Okay. So here PP1, PP12 and PP13 and PP14. These are 4 items for PP1 variable. Right. PP21, PP22, PP23. These are 3 items for PP2 variable. So you have to select all the items of one particular variable. So 11, 12, 13 and 14 I am selecting. So you can select with control key one by one, or you can select first item and then press shift key and then select the last item. All the 4 items will be selected. With the help of this icon, you can transform the items that has to be tested. Okay. By default, model will be alpha. This is what Crowback's coefficient alpha is there. We have various other models, but we are not concerned with this models. We are only concerned with alpha because we are undergoing Crowback's coefficient alpha. And just click on OK. The output window will open and then it will give the results. So you can see here the Crowback's coefficient alpha for PP1 variable with 4 items is 0.326, which is less than 0.5. Okay, so this is not reliable. So this particular variable PP1 with 4 items is not reliable. Okay, so there is a reliability issue, right? So we have to do something. So we cannot take this particular item PP1 with 4 items. We cannot move forward. Let's test other items, other variables also. Take back all these 4 items of PP1 and then transfer these 3 items of PP2 and then click on OK. See, the Crowback's coefficient alpha for PP2 is 0.771. This is under acceptable range. You can accept this particular variable. Likewise, you can test for all other items and then you can check which particular variable is reliable and which is not reliable. Okay. See, variable 3 with 3 items, this is 0.740. This is also reliable. So we came to know that PP1 is not reliable. Okay. Let's test for another because this may affect your validity results also. Let's test for CRM1. CRM has 5. CRM has 6 variables, 6 items. Let's test for CRM also. CRM is very much acceptable, 0.857. Okay. And then the last one is CL. CL1 से CL5. Okay. It's 0.890. So only PP1 variable is not reliable enough. Rest all are reliable. Any doubt? This is how reliability testing is done with Crowbank's coefficient alpha. Internal consistency reliability is checked. And we came to know that PP1 variable is not reliable enough. We may need to discard this. Okay, but let's check the factor analysis validity testing. We will see whether it is required to discard or not.
Sir, in case of PP1, 1, 1, 2 and 1, 3, if we discard PP11 or PP12 or PP13, can we improve the reliability, sir?
We don't know right now which particular item is not good, right? So it will be tested through validity factor analysis. So we will undergo first factor analysis, and then it will help us to know which particular item is not good enough. Then we will we may discard one item or two item or whole variable, and then we will again test the Crowbank's coefficient alpha.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So first, then for factor analysis, we will again go to analyze, go to dimension reduction. So factor analysis, that is validity testing, is also known as dimension reduction technique or instrument building technique, right? Why it is known as dimension reduction? Because it reduces, it discards the dimensions, the items or variables which are not good enough, which are not reliable, which are not valid actually. ओके तो वो उसको हटा देता है, इसलिए उसको डायमेंशन रिडक्शन कहते हैं. तो वो वही डायमेंशंस रखता है, वही फैक्टर्स रखता है जो आपके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को मेजर कर रहे हैं, इसलिए इसको डायमेंशन रिडक्शन कहा जाता है. सो गो टू एनालाइज, डायमेंशन रिडक्शन एंड फैक्टर. ओके, so this factor.
Sir, you mean to say dimension reduction from the point of view of validity only, not reliability?
Yes.
Okay.
Only validity. It will help you to formulate your construct, the whole instrument, which is more valid enough to measure the objectives. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So you can see all the items here. Okay. In this particular factor analysis, you need to transfer all the items at one go. Likewise. Okay. Select all the items and then transfer it. Okay, all the items has been transferred here. Now you need to select various options out of this tabs. So you can see first tab is descriptive. Okay, the descriptive you need to select KMO and Barley test. Just check KMO and Barley test. Click on continue. Then click on extraction. Two important process are, there are two important process. One is extraction method, another one is rotation method. Factor analysis works on extraction and rotation methods. Okay, so it is very much important to select the appropriate extraction and rotation method. By default, you will see principal component extraction method here. This को principal component analysis भी कहते हैं. By default वो ये रहता है, but there are 6 other extraction methods. Okay, the most preferred one is maximum likelihood method. So it's not necessary that you will get the results from any of the extraction method. You need to select which is one is appropriate for your data. Okay, they are just different extraction methods. The most appropriate is suggested as maximum likelihood method. But if you're not getting results after selecting maximum likelihood, you can change the extraction method also. Okay. So select maximum likelihood method, click continue. Then click on rotation. This is the rotation method. There are 5 rotation methods. The most common, you might have heard about Varimax rotation method. But what I prefer is generally Promax. This is the most preferred rotation method. Okay. If again in this rotation method also, if you are not getting results from Promax, you can change the rotation method also. I will show you how. Okay. But most recommended one is the Promax rotation. This Promax rotation will also help us in SEM, structural equation modeling. I will connect you tomorrow when I will help you in Mos. I will explain you this structural equation modeling, how this Promax rotation is basically utilized in Mos. I will tell you tomorrow. Okay. So select Promax rotation. Go to options. Here you need to suppress small coefficients. By default it is 0.1. You need to do it 0.3. All the coefficients, the loading values. Important is loading values in factor analysis. So those loading values which are beyond 0.3 is not required actually. So we will suppress it. Okay. So we will click on continue. Now all the required options has been selected and we will click on OK to get the results. Click on OK. Okay. See, factor analysis has been done and you have got the results in the output tab. So the first table, what you have received is KMO and Barley test. This KMO and Barley test, first of all, will let you know whether the factor analysis is appropriate for this particular data or not. So two things you need to check here. The first one is Kaiser-Meyer-Olkin measure, that is KMO, measure of sampling adequacy. Whether the samples, what you have considered here, what was the sample size here? The sample size was 245. Okay, sample size was 245. So sample size is adequate enough to undergo the factor analysis. This is sampling adequacy. And Barley test, in the for Barley test, you will see the sign value. The sign value is the p value, which should be less than 0.05. 0.05 is the threshold value. If it is less than 0.05, it is significant. If it is more than 0.05, it is insignificant. So this sign value of Barley test should be less than 0.05. It is 0.000. It is very less than 0.05. So we can accept and we can say that this factor analysis is good enough, sufficient enough to undergo the factor analysis for this particular data. Okay. This is the interpretation of this first table. Now you can see the extractions of each item. These extractions should not be less than 0.2. If you see any value of extraction below 0.2, you need to mark that particular item and you need to discard it. Right? It means this particular item is not adding any value to the corresponding model. So this extraction should not be below 0.2. In our case, there is no value below 0.2. So we will consider all the items. Okay.
Sir, can you please explain community please once more?
Here the extractions value is all above 0.2. If it is below 0.2, it should be discarded. It should be noted and discarded later on. Right? This values says that this has enough contribution to the model. If it is less than 0.2, it should be noted and discarded later on. This is one criteria to discard the items, dimension reduction, what I was talking about. It helps us to reduce or discard the dimensions which are not good enough. Okay, which does not contribute on model or objective measurement. This is one
I think Mr. Umesh has some question. He raised a hand.
Yeah, Umesh.
Can you please unmute him?
Umesh, please unmute anybody.
Umesh, are you there?
Umesh.
Okay, fine, sir.
Sir, उससे पहले मैं ही पूछ लेता हूँ.
Let us
Umesh,
proceed. Yeah.
unmute hai actually. Umesh
yeah, he's already unmute.
But he's not asking.
Anyways, yes, Sadhbir ji, you can ask.
Sir, इसमें 0.2 जो है हमने आपने बताया कि 0.2 से ऊपर होना चाहिए। हाँ, तो वो 0.2 हमने कैसे डिसाइड किया सर?
वो थ्रेशोल्ड वैल्यूज दी हुई है जिन्होंने बनाया हुआ है, हमने नहीं डिसाइड किया। ओके
सर, ओके, अंडरस्टूड।
वैल्यूज दी हुई हैं। Okay, the next table is total variance explained. Here the percentage of variance, you can see extraction, sum of square loadings. So this is the percentage of variance. This percentage of variance basically is the explanation of predictors. The predictors that explain the dependent variable. This is what known as percentage of variance. It means the first factor, there are 5 factors which is been extracted, you can see, because values are mentioned only till 5 number. So 5 factors has been extracted out of total number of variables. कितने variables हमने लिए थे? See, P1, P2, P3, CRM and CL. 5 variables हमने लिए थे and 5 factors has been extracted. In this, factor 1 is explaining 21.5%, 21.55% of the dependent variable. Second factor is explaining 15.94%. Likewise, all the factors are explaining to the percentage of variance explained, right? So cumulative, all the independent variables are actually explaining 59 or 60%. It should not be less than 60% of total variance explained, cumulative, right? It means all the what the independent variables predictors you have considered in your model is explaining 60% minimum to the डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल. अगर 60% से कम हो जाएंगे तो फिर बाकी और वेरिएबल्स हैं जो हमने कंसिडर नहीं किए अपने मॉडल में, सो हमारा मॉडल गलत है. तो मिनिमम 60% तो होना चाहिए. और भी ऐसे बहुत सारे मॉडल्स होंगे जो हम आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पाए या हम कंसिडर नहीं किए अपनी स्टडी में. बट आपको अगर टर्नओवर इंटेंशन को एक्सप्लेन करना है तो कम से कम 60% तक तो आपको प्रेडिक्टर्स लेने पड़ेंगे, तब जाकर के आपका मॉडल सही होगा. तो अगर ये 60% से कम आ रहा है, इट मीन्स आपकी वैलिडिटी में प्रॉब्लम है. या तो आपके जो मॉडल्स आपने वेरिएबल्स लिए, प्रेडिक्टर्स लिए, वो सही तरीके से एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर रहे हैं, या आपने बहुत सारे अच्छे वेरिएबल्स प्रेडिक्टर्स छोड़ दिए हैं. तो आपका जो मॉडल है, जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, वो वैलिड नहीं है. ये भी एक इंडिकेशन है. ठीक है. Then the next table, what you need to see is this goodness of fit test. Also you can check where this significant value is less than 0.05. It also says that your model, your data is fit with the model, with the instrument. Your data is good enough to test the dependent variable turnover intention. तो ठीक है, ये बोल रहा है, right? This is the pattern matrix. This is the most important table, the most important result. This pattern matrix actually you will only get with the help of Promax. That's why I said to prefer Promax always. क्योंकि यहाँ जो वैल्यू, जो 5 फैक्टर्स हैं आप ऊपर देख रहे हैं, हर फैक्टर में लोडिंग वैल्यूज रहती हैं, राइट? तो हमने एक तो 0.3 के नीचे सप्रेस कर दिया, वो भी एक बात थी, सप्रेस कर दिया हमने. दूसरी बात ये थी कि वो सिर्फ वही लोडिंग वैल्यूज दिखाता है जो अच्छी होती हैं और जो एक्सेप्टेबल हैं और जो ज्यादा हैं. इसमें 2 इंपॉर्टेंट क्राइटेरिया होते हैं इस टेबल में. ओके, द फर्स्ट वन इज द लोडिंग वैल्यू शुड बी ग्रेटर देन 0.6, 0.5 तक भी आप कंसिडर कर सकते हो, बट जितनी ज्यादा लोडिंग वैल्यू होगी, नियर टू 1 नहीं होनी चाहिए, ठीक है, नियर टू 1, उतना अच्छा है. सो लोडिंग वैल्यू शुड बी बिटवीन 0.6 0.9. ये अच्छा है, एक्सेप्टेबल है. Moreover, the second criteria is the loading values of items of one variable should be under one factor. ठीक है. आप देख सकते हो फर्स्ट वेरिएबल जो है PP1, जिसमें 4 आइटम्स हैं, फोर्थ PP14 की जो लोडिंग वैल्यू है वो 4th फैक्टर में जा रही है, बाकी 3 की 3rd में है ना. इट मींस PP1 में प्रॉब्लम है और हमारा क्रोबैंक्स कोएफिशिएंट अल्फा भी खराब आया था. इट मींस PP14 आइटम जो है वो दूसरी फैक्टर पे लोड हो रहा है. तो PP14 जो है ये सही आइटम नहीं है, ये ऑब्जेक्टिव को रिप्रेजेंट नहीं कर रहा है. रिस्पोंडेंट्स ने इसको सही नहीं समझा, गलत समझा है या गलत रिस्पॉन्सेज दिए हैं, तो ये आपके रिजल्ट्स को खराब करेगा। तो आपको PP14 यहाँ पे डिस्कार्ड करना पड़ेगा। क्यों? एक तो माइनस में दिखा रहा है, ऊपर से लोडिंग वैल्यू भी कम है, प्लस दूसरे फैक्टर पे लोड हो रहा है, तो ये आपका रिजल्ट्स को खराब करेगा। तो हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया PP14 इसमें ही खराब है। बाकी सब देखिए ठीक है, PP1, PP2, PP3 थर्ड में फैक्टर में आ रहा है। थर्ड फैक्टर ने कितना एक्सप्लेन किया है, ऊपर जाइए, टोटल वेरिएंस एक्सप्लेन थर्ड फैक्टर 11.79% एक्सप्लेन किया है, ठीक है। देन PP21, 22, 23 किसमें आ रहा है, ये फोर्थ में आ रहा है, ठीक है। PP31, 32, 33 फिफ्थ फैक्टर में आ रहा है, सारी लोडिंग वैल्यूज ठीक है। PP32 कम है थोड़ी सी, 0.564 है, लेकिन चलेगा, एक्सेप्ट कर लेते हैं, 0.5 के ऊपर तक आप एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हो। अगर आप ये डिस्कार्ड करोगे PP32 भी, याद रखिए किसी भी एक वेरिएबल में 2 से कम आइटम नहीं होने चाहिए, 2 तो मिनिमम चाहिए। तो यहाँ पे 3 आइटम्स हैं, आप PP32 डिस्कार्ड कर सकते हो, 0.564 है। अगर ये डिस्कार्ड करोगे तो शायद आपका वेरिएंस एक्सप्लेन बढ़ जाए, हम करके देखते हैं, ठीक है। CRM के 6 ठीक है, सेकेंड फैक्टर पे लोडेड है। CRM1 भी थोड़ा सा खराब जा रहा है, CRM2 तो देखो कम जा रहा है, तो हमें इसे डिस्कार्ड करना पड़ेगा CRM2। तो एक एक करके डिस्कार्ड करके देखेंगे हम, ठीक है। NCL भी सब ठीक है, 1 में जा रहा है और सबसे ज्यादा एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है मॉडल को, ठीक है। तो अभी हमने क्या क्या आइडेंटिफाई किया, हमें लिख के रखना पड़ेगा, वी नीड टू मेंशन इट। PP14 पहले हम सिर्फ ये डिस्कार्ड करके देखते हैं कैसा आता है, ठीक है। क्योंकि सारे ये रोटेशन जो मेथड होता है ना, ये सब को एक साथ कंसिडर करके रोटेट करके चलता है। तो एक भी आइटम अगर अफेक्ट हुआ तो बाकी सारे आइटम की लोडिंग वैल्यू भी अफेक्टेड होती हैं। फैक्टर एनालिसिस में ऐसा होता है, राइट। सो वी नीड टू डिस्कार्ड वन बाय वन and see if we are getting good results or not. Unnecessary, we should not remove all the items. Okay, so again we will go to the data view and then we go to analyze, we will go to dimension reduction factor और हमें यही टेबल मिल जाएगी। Now PP14 हमें हटाना पड़ेगा, so we will select PP14, we will remove it and then we will test again, we will check, click OK, okay। ठीक है। वेरिएंस एक्सप्लेन देखिए, इसमें तो वेरिएंस एक्सप्लेन कम हो गया और 4 दिखा रहा है, देखिए कम हो गया और 4 भी दिखा रहा है, तो गड़बड़ हो रही है। 56.825 हो गया है तो, और 4 फैक्टर्स बस आ रहे हैं। देखिए पैटर्न मैट्रिक्स क्या बोलता है, अरे बाप रे, पैटर्न मैट्रिक्स तो और खराब हो गया, राइट। सो PP14 हटाने से तो और गड़बड़ रिजल्ट्स आ रही है, तो गड़बड़ हो रहा है। तो अभी हम क्या करेंगे, हम PP14 को वापस लेते हैं और हम हटा के देखते हैं क्या, CRM2 हटा के देखते हैं, चलिए
CRM2 को हटाने से
CRM2 को हटा के देखते हैं, चलिए। सो वी गो टू अगेन टू डायमेंशन रिडक्शन फैक्टर, PP4 हम वापस ले लेते हैं एंड CRM2 हटा के देखते हैं, ठीक है। वेरिएंस एक्सप्लेन अभी भी उतना ही है, 4 फैक्टर्स आ रहे हैं, 56.54 ये भी कम आ रहा है। पैटर्न मैट्रिक्स अभी भी सब गड़बड़ आ रहा है, तो हमें CRM2 भी हटाने से कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ, राइट। तो अभी हम देखते हैं कि हम पूरा PP1 हटा देते हैं, चलिए हम जाएंगे डायमेंशन रिडक्शन फैक्टर, हम CRM2 भी वापस ले लेंगे और हम क्या हटाएंगे, PP1 के सारे चारों वेरिएबल्स हटा देते हैं। ये PP1, PP12, PP13 PP14 चारों हमने हटा दिया। अब हम टेस्ट करते हैं, तो एक वेरिएबल हमने पूरा हटा दिया है, तो 4 फैक्टर्स आने पड़ेंगे। 4 फैक्टर्स आ रहे हैं, 57% है, अभी भी कम आ रहा है, ठीक है। देखिए परसेंटेज वेरिएंस एक्सप्लेन कम आ रहा है, लेकिन अभी 4 वेरिएबल्स के 4 फैक्टर्स आपको मिल गए और सब लोडिंग्स वैल्यू ठीक आई है ना। तो ये पैटर्न मैट्रिक्स ठीक है, ये फैक्टर एनालिसिस आप कंसीडर कर सकते हो, बट देयर इज वन इशू। व्हाट इशू? कि variance explained is less than 60%, so
सर,
your model is
CRM
not
सर,
very good enough।
सर इन दिस केस CRM2 को भी हटा दें तो आई थिंक।
अच्छा चलो, ओके, एक और आगे बढ़ते हैं सतबीर जी के रिकमेंडेशन पे, हम CRM2 भी हटा के देखते हैं। गो टू फैक्टर अगेन एंड CRM2 हटा दो तो शायद परसेंटेज बढ़ जाए, फाइन, ओके। परसेंटेज 58 थोड़ा सा बड़ा, ठीक है। पैटर्न मैट्रिक्स देखें, ठीक है, ठीक है। CRM अभी अभी हम क्या करते हैं, हम ये वाले हटाते हैं, चले CRM 1 हटाते हैं क्योंकि ये 0.6 से कम है। 0.6 से नीचे वाले सब हटा के देखते हैं, चलिए, ठीक है। तो PP2 हटाते हैं, PP22 less than 0.6, then PP32, then CRM1, ओके, CRM6, 4 आइटम्स हमें हटाने पड़ेंगे। चलिए देखते हैं वेरिएंस बढ़ता है क्या।
सर CRM6 को थोड़ा रिटेन कर लेते हैं क्योंकि उसका 5.593 है, हो सकता है बाय रिमूविंग अदर।
ठीक है ना, हटा के देखते हैं, चलिए। तो PP22 हटाना है ना, और PP32 हटाना है, चलो 2 हटा के देखते हैं। ओके, चलिए वेरिएंस, वेरिएंस आया आपका, देखिए 60.34 आ गया, बढ़ गया। तो अभी और क्यों हम आइटम्स हटाएं, 60 क्रॉस हो गया तो हम नहीं हटाएंगे, ठीक है। तो अभी PP1 पूरा हट गया, PP1 पूरा हट गया वेरिएबल। PP2 में से एक आइटम हटा, PP22, PP3 में से एक आइटम हटा, PP32, CRM से एक हटा, CRM2, बाकी सब ऐसा ही है आपका। ये आपका एग्जैक्ट मॉडल बन गया। You can proceed further for regression.
सर इसमें can we accept CRM1 with 0.524?
नहीं, 0.5 के ऊपर है ना, आपका टोटल वेरिएंस एक्सपेंड हो रहा है।
अच्छा जी,
है ना। अगर आप CRM1 हटाओगे, हटा के देखते हैं, चलिए, तो वेरिएंस एक्सपेंड बढ़ जाएगा, बट 60 हमारा क्रॉस हो गया है, तो हम क्यों हटाएं उसको, है ना। तो CRM1 चलिए हटा के देखते हैं वेरिएंस में फर्क पड़ता है क्या। ये 63 बढ़ गया ना, वो 63 हो गया, ठीक है। तो CRM1 भी हटा दीजिए, 63 हो जाएगा। अब देखिए आप का एक ही आइटम है 0.584 CRM6, बाकी सब अच्छे हैं। CRM6 भी हटा के देखते हैं और वेरिएंस आपका बढ़ जाएगा, क्योंकि ये जो आइटम्स हैं ये खराब हैं। अभी ये ठीक से इसमें रिस्पोंडेंट्स या तो उसको समझ नहीं पाए हैं, या तो क्वेश्चनर में प्रॉब्लम है, वो आइटम वाकई में खराब है, वो एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर रहा है आपके ऑब्जेक्टिव को, या फिर रिस्पोंडेंट्स नहीं समझ पाए हैं।
हेलो सर।
हाँ सर।
Yeah, Mr. Umesh asked one basic question, and I think Mr. Keval has raised the hand. So if we can address to their questions.
हाँ sir.
Mr. Umesh is asking, in SPSS, do we need to construct the variable view or will come from data view? In SPSS, do we need to construct the variable view or will it come from data view?
See, when we directly upload the data from Excel sheet,
yeah,
so characteristics of data what has been uploaded will be directly shown in the variable view. Okay. कभी-कभी अगर हम upload नहीं करते हैं through Excel sheet, we can manually type the data in SPSS worksheet also in data view.
Correct.
ठीक है, तो वहां पर हमें फिर वेरिएबल व्यू में डिफाइन करना पड़ता है। मैं दिखाता हूँ।
I think Mr. Umesh, your question, and Mr. Keval has raised the hand.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, please proceed.
Hello.
Yes, tell me.
Yes.
So sir, this actually मुझे confusion है, ये जो PP1 CRM1 ये जो है, ये अलग-अलग questions है, right?
Yes.
Question है इसके.
Yes.
Okay.
They are questions.
तो
They are questions.
तो हर एक मतलब PP वो एक कैटेगरी है, उसके कैटेगरी के ये क्वेश्चंस है, ग्रुप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस। CRM एक
इंस्ट्रूमेंट जो बनाए थे ना, CRM इज कस्टमर रिलेशनशिप मैनेजमेंट। तो कस्टमर रिलेशनशिप मैनेजमेंट के ऊपर आपने 6 क्वेश्चंस पूछे थे। तो आपने उसको नाम दिया CRM1, CRM2, CRM3। CL इज कस्टमर लॉयल्टी। तो उसके आपने 5 क्वेश्चंस पूछे थे कस्टमर लॉयल्टी चेक करने के लिए, और 5 आइटम्स का उसने आपने नाम दिया CL1, CL2, CL3 ऐसे, ठीक है। सो इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल जो था वो PP1 था, एक वेरिएबल PP2 था, PP3 था, 3 वेरिएबल्स थे। तो PP1 में हमने 4 क्वेश्चंस पूछे, 4 आइटम्स थे, PP1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3 एंड 1, 4। ऐसे ही सेकेंड वेरिएबल PP2 में हमने 3 क्वेश्चंस पूछे, 3 आइटम्स थे, PP2, 1, 2, 2 एंड 2, 3, राइट। तो उसको आप ऐसे नॉमेनक्लेचर देते हो।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
Okay. So this is see, this is one blank sheet SPSS. So we are entering the data manually here. Any question till now?
Mr. Sushant raised the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Sushant, you can ask your question. Sushant, are you there? Sushant, are you able to connect?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Sir, actually, to fit the model, we are deleting the items as per what you said.
Yes.
But deleting the items will may affect the model also, sir. Because A, B plus C plus D will be measuring something. If you remove C and D, how only A and B measure the thing?
Because the item what you have considered is not measuring the objective. The item what you have considered is wrong. It means you have not formulated the instrument properly from the literature review. So your literature review is weak actually. Okay.
Okay.
So this generally does not happen. We do not able to discard much items in already standardized instruments, right? What we borrow from literature review. It generally happens when we create our own instrument. So we are not aware about which item will measure the objective or not. So we list the items, we list the questions, and then we collect them and then just measure. So in that particular process, there are maximum chances of removing the items, and then we will get one standardized instrument which will exactly measure our objectives, right? But dimension reduction is least when we have already borrowed the standardized instrument. Okay. Moreover, how you are framing the questions, it also affects that also. The respondents are not able to understand your questions, so they will not give you the correct answers. This will also distort your results. So questions should be very much easier to be understandable by the respondents. That is why face validity is important then, first of all.
So one more question.
Yes.
Sir, in the pattern matrix, so you got that loadings in different columns for different set. Yeah. So whether it takes based upon our question that you have fixed 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, based upon that, or it is based upon the perception score?
No. The PP 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3 is just the nomenclature to define your items, right? But the loadings, what you are getting is basically on the basis of the responses what you collected.
But the responses all will be on a 5-point Likert scale. In that case, how it will know that these particular 3 loadings are only for that particular factor or something like that?
That is the beautifulness of the software. No?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Right. Because respondent will understand that this particular 3 questions are talking about organizational environment. This particular 3 questions are talking about salary. So they will respond on the basis of the factor keeping in mind that I am satisfied with the salary in my organization. 3 questions about the salary will be on the satisfaction side. Organization, my boss is not good. So the 3 questions asked for the relationship with the boss will be responded by the respondent on the basis of the perception in his or her mind. तो वो उस डायरेक्शन पे आंसर देगा, ठीक है? और फिर फैक्टर एनालिसिस जो सॉफ्टवेयर है, वो जो टेक्निक है, वो समझ रही है कि ये जो पर्टिकुलर 3 क्वेश्चन हैं ये इसी के जैसे हैं, इसलिए उसको एक फैक्टर के अंदर डाल रहा है. कभी-कभी क्या होता है, आपने सेटिस्फैक्शन जानना चाहा, आपने 30 क्वेश्चंस बना दिए रैंडमली. आपको नहीं पता कि ये 30 क्वेश्चंस को हम बाइफरकेट कैसे करें डिफरेंट वेरिएबल्स में. हो सकता है कुछ सैलरी से रिलेटेड हो सकता है कुछ रिलेशनशिप से रिलेटेड हो सकता है कुछ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से रिलेटेड हो, ठीक है? तो ये फैक्टर एनालिसिस आपको काम करके देगा, इसलिए इसको इंस्ट्रूमेंट डेवलपमेंट टेक्निक भी कहते हैं. और वो आपके लिए इंस्ट्रूमेंट बना के दे देगा और बता देगा कि ये आइटम्स इस वेरिएबल में आएंगे, इस फैक्टर में आएंगे. ठीक है। अगर इस केस में हमें नहीं पता होता कि PP11 है, PP12 है, PP13, हमें नहीं पता होता, हम सिर्फ 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 लिख देते इसको, ठीक है, ऐसा लिख देते, तो क्या होता, अब हमें पता चलता है PP21 और PP23 एक वेरिएबल के आइटम्स हैं, PP31 और 33 एक वेरिएबल के आइटम्स हैं, हमें पता चल जाता ना इससे। तो यहां पर हमने एक मॉडल, एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट डेवलप कर लिया। अब ये प्रीडिफाइंड था, हमें पता था, इसीलिए हमने इसको पहले से नॉमेनक्लेचर कर दिया था। लेकिन अगर हमें नहीं पता होता तो आपका इंस्ट्रूमेंट डेवलप हो जाता है ऐसे, ठीक है। तो दो पर्पस के लिए ये सॉल्व यूज किया जाता है। Anybody else want to ask something? चलिए, so shall we move forward?
Yes, sir.
चलिए, next is regression. Next हम regression पढ़ते हैं। सर 7:10 हो गया है, कब तक करना है? Participants are enjoying or not? Whether they are learning or not?
I hope they are enjoying and you are responding to the individual questions. So that's why, you know, they are taking keen interest. So I hope we should continue as per our schedule. And I think up to 8 o'clock or 7:45 we can go for that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
3 participants.
It is very, very critical thing.
Rather, it's going more participative, so that's why the level of interest of the audience is increasing.
So till
I
8
think
we will continue.
There is a question from Sonali. Miss Sonali, yes, your question, please. Can you hear, Sonali? Your question, please.
Yeah, Sonali.
And one question from Suchi Gupta ma'am. Yeah, Suchi ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Sorry, Sachi. Sachi.
Sachi.
Yeah.
I'm audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Sir, I
please
would
go ahead.
ask, like, if we use the verified instruments, like I am using the certain validated measurement scale.
Okay.
Then also I need to do the factor analysis?
Yes, recommended. At least once you should do, because organizational settings have been changed.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other question?
Any question?
जो फैक्टर एनालिसिस में जो पहली सेकंड थी चीज जिसमें 60% हम डिसाइड कर रहे हैं फैक्टर्स का कंट्रीब्यूशन, सर उसमें वो फैक्टर के जो नंबर हैं 1 to 5 जो आए थे इनिशियल में, तो वो फर्स्ट टू 5 जो है वो P1 P2 मतलब वो आइटम्स हैं या फैक्टर्स हैं? वो
फैक्टर्स हैं, वो सिर्फ नंबर्स दिए गए हैं फैक्टर्स को, क्योंकि हमको बताना है कि वो कितना कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं। तो फैक्टर 1 कर रहा है, मान लीजिए मैक्सिमम 26%। लेकिन
सर फैक्टर तो हमारे 5 हैं, लेकिन ओवरऑल एलिमेंट्स जो हैं, आइटम्स जो हैं 5 क्वेश्चन में, आपने 5 क्वेश्चन लिए, 5 फैक्टर्स लिए और उसके आइटम्स टोटल हैं 21, राइट सर? तो वो हम आइटम्स को भी फैक्टर मान रहे हैं?
नहीं, फैक्टर इज इक्विवेलेंट टू वेरिएबल एक्चुअली।
अच्छा,
तो 5 फैक्टर हैं, तो 5 वेरिएबल हैं, तो 5 फैक्टर्स होंगे।
तो दैट मींस वो जो 5 फैक्टर आए, वो उसकी हम कुछ कैन वी आइडेंटिफाई देम एज C1 1 2 और P12 लाइक दैट?
नहीं, आप उस पर कंफ्यूज मत होइए ना।
अच्छा, आप
सिर्फ ये देखिए कि जो सारे आइटम्स हैं एक वेरिएबल के, वो एक ही फैक्टर में आ रहे हैं कि नहीं आ रहे हैं। जैसे PP14 जो है वो दूसरे फैक्टर पे आ रहा था ना।
हाँ सर।
इट मींस रिस्पोंडेंट ने उसको कुछ और कैटेगरी का क्वेश्चन समझ लिया।
अच्छा जी।
तो ये फैक्टर एनालिसिस ने उसको आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया और बता दिया कि रिस्पोंडेंट्स ने इसको सही जवाब नहीं दिया है, तो इसलिए वो दूसरे फैक्टर पे कूद गया।
ओके सर।
तो हमें समझ में आ गया कि ये गलत है क्वेश्चन, इसे हटाना पड़ेगा।
तो सर जो सेकंड टेबल में जो हम मतलब यू मीन टू से वी आर जस्ट knowing the number of factors in which whole data has to be segregated.
Yes, but it's not necessary कि जितने वेरिएबल हैं उतने फैक्टर आए. क्या होता कि फैक्टर की वेरिएबल 1 जैसे PP1 और PP2 एक ही फैक्टर में आ जाते सारे के सारे. तो 5 फैक्टर की जगह 4 फैक्टर्स बनते.
करेक्ट सर, करेक्ट
है ना. तो ये कभी कभी ऐसा हो सकता है कि हो सकता है रिस्पोंडेंट्स PP1 वेरिएबल को और PP2 वेरिएबल को सेम समझ रहे हैं. तो फिर हमने दो डिफरेंट वेरिएबल्स क्यों बनाए? क्योंकि वो एक ही फैक्टर पे आ रहे हैं, रिस्पोंडेंट से उसको एक ही वेक्टर समझ रहा है, एक ही वेरिएबल समझ रहा है, तो हमें फिर उसे मर्ज करना पड़ेगा, है ना.
अच्छा,
ऐसा होता है.
अच्छा सर, अभी जैसे मान लो इस केस में हमने 4 फैक्टर्स निकाले. हाँ. और हमने जब क्वेश्चनर बनाया था 5 फैक्टर्स में 21 एलिमेंट्स हमने डिसाइड किए थे, 21 क्वेश्चंस फॉर एग्जांपल. हाँ. नाउ 4 फैक्टर्स अभी आ गए, तो नाउ डू वी नीड टू क्लासिफाई दोस 4 फैक्टर्स नाउ?
नहीं, क्लासिफाइड
तो टर्मिनोलॉजी चेंज करनी पड़ेगी क्या सर?
नहीं, क्यों करोगे आप टर्मिनोलॉजी? CRM will be considered as CRM only, customer relationship management. अभी आप उसको 6 आइटम से एक्सप्लेन करो या 4 आइटम से एक्सप्लेन करो, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है ना.
अच्छा, मतलब individual definition of those questions will remain, which will be retained after this.
हाँ, हाँ.
Okay.
बस. ठीक है
सर, thank you.
Any other question?
Great sir, it's going well.
Okay,
I think
you,
we
sir.
are getting the responses in the chat box. It's really participative and we are enjoying the session.
चलिए बढ़िया, thank you so much.
I'm just conveying it.
Thank you sir. चलिए let's move to regression. We are running late. बहुत सारे आगे के टेस्ट रह जाएंगे मुझे लग रहा है, जो कि थोड़े से टफ भी हैं. लॉजिस्टिक एंड पॉइजन रिग्रेशन थोड़े से टफ हैं, तो प्रोबेबली आगे जाकर के हम उसको इंडिविजुअली डिस्कस कर लेंगे. बट ये रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस के बारे में बताना चाहूँगा, और मल्टीपल लीनियर रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस बहुत मजेदार है, वो करेंगे हम. राइट. सो द 4 क्वेश्चंस दैट नीड टू बी अंडरस्टूड फॉर रिग्रेशन इज व्हाट इज रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस, व्हाई डू वी यूज रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस, व्हाट आर द टाइप्स ऑफ रिग्रेशंस, एंड हाउ टू सेलेक्ट द राइट रिग्रेशन मॉडल. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इस पे ध्यान दीजिएगा सब. सो रिग्रेशन इज कौशल रिसर्च डिजाइन जो होती है, जिसमें कॉज एंड इफेक्ट देखा जाता है, इफेक्ट ऑफ वन वेरिएबल ऑन अनदर. सो उस पर ये रिग्रेशन टेस्ट यूज़ किया जाता है. बहुत कॉमन टेस्ट है हम रिसर्चर्स के बीच में, और हम इसको बहुत ज़्यादा यूज़ करते हैं अपने रिसर्च वर्क में. राइट. सो रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस इज नथिंग बट टेस्ट, इट्स अ प्रेडिक्टिव एनालिटिक्स टेस्ट which predicts the impact of one variable on the other variable. Okay. इसका रिग्रेशन इक्वेशन होता है y equals to x bx plus a. So a is the intercept. Okay. Y is the dependent variable, x is the independent variable, b is the intercept, and c is the constant. ऐसा होता है. ठीक है. So it is a statistical process for estimating the relationship between independent and dependent variable. Independent variable is predictors, dependent variable are criterion variables. Okay. So any change in criterions, dependent variable, in relation to the changes in predictors can be explained with regression analysis. So for example, what is the relationship between salary or income with the sales of gold? ठीक है. तो सैलरी इज इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल, क्या वो गोल्ड के सेल को अफेक्ट करता है? सो इफ देयर इज अ पॉजिटिव सिग्निफिकेंट रिलेशनशिप, significant impact, so we can say that increase in income will increase the sales of gold, तो increase करेगा. if there is no significant effect, तो इनकम का सेल्स ऑफ गोल्ड पे कोई इफेक्ट नहीं पड़ता है, हम ऐसा बोलेंगे. राइट. तो कितना रिलेशन है कि नहीं है, और कितना रिलेशन है. रिलेशनशिप तो आप कोरिलेशन कोएफिशिएंट से भी पता कर सकते हो, पियर्सन कोरिलेशन कोएफिशिएंट. लेकिन कितना अफेक्ट हो रहा है, कितना इनकम इंक्रीज करने से कितना सेल्स इंक्रीज होगा, ये रिग्रेशन के थ्रू पता चलता है. राइट. दिस इज व्हाट रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस इज. सो इट्स अ टाइप ऑफ प्रेडिक्टिव मॉडलिंग. प्रिडिक्शन करना आगे का, फ्यूचर का, कि अगर आप इनकम को इतना बढ़ाओगे तो सेल्स इतना बढ़ जाएगा. दिस इज व्हाट प्रेडिक्टिव मॉडलिंग इज. ठीक है. तो ये फोरकास्टिंग के लिए यूज किया जा सकता है. कि अगर आप एक प्रोडक्ट का एडवर्टीजमेंट इतने बार दिखाओगे तो प्रोडक्ट की सेल्स बढ़ जाएगी, ठीक है। तो ये प्रेडिक्शन के लिए काम आता है। सो तीन तरीके के यूजेस होते हैं रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस के, डिटरमाइनिंग द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ प्रेडिक्टर्स, कितना किस स्ट्रेंथ से कैसे अफेक्ट करता है, फोरकास्टिंग भी करता है ये कि फ्यूचर में क्या हो सकता है, और ट्रेंड कैसा जाएगा, राइट। सो देयर इज ए लीनियर रिलेशनशिप बनती है बिटवीन इंडिपेंडेंट एंड डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल। एक ग्राफ, लीनियर ग्राफ आप देखते हो, यू कैन सी दिस हियर, ठीक है। तो इससे पता चलता है हमें फ्यूचर का ट्रेंड की कैसे कैसे इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल बढ़ेगा तो डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल कैसे बढ़ेगा, राइट। सो व्हाई डू वी यूज रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस? Because it indicates the significant relationship between variables, between independent dependent variables, and also it helps us to know the strength of impact. Impact कितना strength का है, कितना independent variable बढ़ाने या घटाने से dependent variable बढ़ेगा या घटेगा, ये impact होता है, ये स्ट्रेंथ होगा, ठीक है। तो ये दोनों को आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए हम रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस यूज करते हैं। देयर आर टिपिकल वेरियस 15 और 16 टाइप्स ऑफ रिग्रेशंस। एक्चुअली पता नहीं होता है हमें, हम तो सिर्फ एक रिग्रेशन जानते हैं, एक टेस्ट, लेकिन इतने तरीके के रिग्रेशन होते हैं। कॉमन रिग्रेशन टेस्ट आप ये दे सकते हो। लीनियर रिग्रेशन इज द मोस्ट कॉमन टेस्ट। इट कैन बी सिंपल लीनियर, जब वह एक इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल है और बहुत सारे इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल्स। याद रखिएगा डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल रिग्रेशन में एक ही होता है, only one dependent variable is there in regressions. If you have multiple dependent variables, you can go for MANOVA, okay. For regression only one dependent variable is there. Independent variables कितने भी हो सकते हैं। So in linear regression, this is the most common and simplest regression. In linear regression it can be simple or multiple. Simple, there is one independent variable, and multiple, there are multiple independent variables, right. Then is quantile, logistic, ordinal, Poisson, polynomial, stepwise, ridge, lasso, and elastic net regressions. These are various regressions used for different purpose on the basis of the type of dependent and independent variables and the skills you have used for data collection, ठीक है। तो ये अलग अलग चीजें हैं। इवन देयर आर सर्टेन assumptions as far as regression is concerned. कुछ 8 assumptions होते हैं, वो assumptions को आपको क्लियर करना पड़ता है। मैं थोड़ा सा कल डिस्कस करूंगा जब हम एमओस बनाऊंगा, राइट। एमओस के लिए assumptions को क्लियर करना बहुत ज़रूरी होता है, रिजल्ट्स तभी अच्छे आते हैं। SPSS में थोड़ा बहुत कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया जा सकता है assumptions से। assumptions होते हैं फॉर एग्जांपल इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ ऑब्जर्वेशंस, नॉर्मेलिटी टेस्ट, लीनियरिटी टेस्ट, हेट्रोस्कैटेस्टिसिटी, मल्टीकोलिनियरिटी। आई होप आप लोगों ने ये वर्ड्स सुने होंगे। तो ये सारे assumptions होते हैं और रिग्रेशन के लिए हमें ये सारी चीजें क्लियर करनी पड़ती हैं। इट मींस योर डेटा शुड बी नॉर्मल। दिस इज ए पैरामेट्रिक टेस्ट रिग्रेशन, और उसके लिए डेटा नॉर्मल होना जरूरी है। सो नॉर्मलिटी टेस्ट क्लियर होना जरूरी है। इफ योर डेटा इज नॉर्मल, आप रिग्रेशन तभी कर पाओगे। बट कुछ चीजें हैं, अगर नॉन नॉर्मल है तो कुछ रिग्रेशंस हैं जिसपे आप रिग्रेशन लगा सकते हो अगर डेटा आपका नॉन नॉर्मल है तो, ठीक है। अगर लीनियरिटी टेस्ट पास नहीं हुआ आपका, योर डेटा इज नॉट लीनियर, तो क्वांटाइल रिग्रेशन सेकंड वन आप देख रहे हो, यू कैन यूज क्वांटाइल रिग्रेशन इफ योर डेटा इज नॉट लीनियर। तो हमारे पास ऑप्शंस हैं। अगर हमारा assumptions हम क्लियर नहीं कर पा रहे हैं लेकिन फिर भी हमें रिग्रेशन लगाना है, तो फिर हम दूसरे रिग्रेशंस लगा करके रिजल्ट्स पा सकते हैं। तो हम उसको क्वांटाइल रिग्रेशन कहते हैं, राइट। लॉजिस्टिक रिग्रेशन, if it depends on the type of data you are collecting, तो logistic regression यूज होता है। ordinal data dependent variable आपने कलेक्ट किया है, तो ordinal scale पे अगर dependent variable कलेक्ट किया है मतलब रैंकिंग है, ठीक है, कंटिन्यूस स्केल नहीं है, इंटरवल स्केल नहीं है, रैंकिंग है, तो फिर आप ऑर्डिनल यूज कर लोगे। पॉइजन भी ऐसे ही होता है, पॉलिनोमियल ऐसे होता है, तो सबके अपने अपने यूजेज है। तो रिग्रेशंस आप लगा सकते हो, मैं आगे दिखाता हूँ क्या क्या। देयर आर वेरियस अदर रिग्रेशंस आल्सो जो इतने फेमस नहीं हैं बट यूज किए जा सकते हैं। दिस आर वेरियस अदर रिग्रेशंस, प्रिंसिपल कॉम्पोनेंट रिग्रेशन, पार्शियल लीस्ट स्क्वायर रिग्रेशंस, सपोर्ट वेक्टर, नेगेटिव बाइनोमियल, क्वासी, कॉक्स, टॉबिट एंड प्रोबिट। ये बाकी और रिग्रेशंस भी हैं। इतने सारे रिग्रेशंस होते हैं, एसपीएसएस में किए जा सकते हैं, सबके अपने अपने यूसेज है, ठीक है। तो इनको समझना के लिए बहुत पेशेंस चाहिए। एनीहाउ, सो दिस इज द मॉडल, दिस इज द टेबल क्रिएटेड बाय मी Okay. So how you
sir,
can decide which regression?
For a researcher, ये सारे रिग्रेशन आने जरूरी है क्या, या फिर खाली ओनली बेसिक नॉलेज इज सफिशिएंट?
नहीं देखिए सर, आप जब अपना रिसर्च करना चाहते हैं, ठीक है, आप अपने पीएचडी करना चाहते हैं या आप कोई पेपर लिखना चाहते हैं, तो किस टाइप का पेपर लिख रहे हैं या किस टाइप की पीएचडी में आपका क्या यूज हो रहा है, आप बस वही पढ़िए। हम लोग जैसे लोग जो हम वर्कशॉप्स कराते रहते हैं, हमें सब आना चाहिए, तभी तो हम नॉलेज शेयर कर पाएंगे ना। ठीक है।
अच्छा,
तो
मतलब
अभी आपको जितना पर्पस है आप उतना ही सीखिए।
ओके सर।
ठीक है।
क्योंकि क्या डर लगता है ना इतने सारे लिस्ट देख के।
ऑब्वियसली हमें भी डर लगता है सब देख करके, हमें भी बहुत सारी चीजें नहीं आती हैं। वी आर ऑल्सो एट लर्निंग स्टेज नाउ, है ना, ऐसा नहीं है, हमें भी सब नहीं आता है इसमें। अभी आप मेरे से पूछ लो कि वेक्टर रिग्रेशन क्या होता है, मैं नहीं बता पाऊंगा क्योंकि मुझे नहीं पता है, मैंने कभी नहीं किया। तो कुछ बेसिक रिग्रेशंस हैं जो हम यूज करते हैं और हमने किया हुआ है, तो हम वो सब बता सकते हैं।
अच्छा, ठीक है सर, थैंक यू।
बट
Sabbir, I want to contribute something.
हाँ सर, गुड आफ्टरनून, गुड इवनिंग सर, हाउ आर यू सर?
बुरगाटे सर, वेलकम।
Just a moment.
साकेत
Ultimately,
साहब,
we are all humans.
नहीं एक मिनट सर, एक मिनट साकेत सर, इवनिंग अब हुई है हमारी।
हाँ सर आए।
यस सर, बुरगाटे सर, वेलकम सर, वेलकम।
Sir. Thank you so much. I was busy with something.
Yes sir.
I wanted to join.
They really
missed out all this thing.
Yes sir.
Okay. So see, what we can do is, see, we cannot learn everything. It's the quantum of everything. Universe, is very, very big, and this what we are talking is just a small molecule of it. What we are talking, जो शंकर भगवान ने क्रिएट किया है ना, तो उसके सामने कुछ भी नहीं है।
लेकिन अच्छा है सर।
Let us enjoy.
Yes
let
sir,
us
yes
question
sir.
ourselves what we want to be. Exactly, Sadbir?
Yes sir, fully agree with you sir. But sir क्या होता है, जो साकेत सर ने जो पिक्चर दिखाई है ना, उससे हमको ये भी जानना चाहिए और ये भी एस्पिरेशन रखनी चाहिए कि फ्यूचर में वी शुड कवर ऑल दीज knowledge also in future workshops, so that we can also become like Dr. Burgate Saab or like Dr. Sakesh Jeswani Saab in future. Although I'm not going to sir, मैं आपसे compete नहीं करने वाला हूँ यार Dr. Sakesh से।
ऐसा नहीं है। God, मैं शंकर भगवान बोल दिया, ठीक है, I believe in कोई अल्लाह को बिलीव करता हूँ क्या? तो उसमें कैसा कि there's plenty of scope, and we as a human being do not have a right to know actually. मतलब we are trying it, but we don't have a right to know how it was created and how it's going to be destroyed.
Yes,
and
sir,
how it's going to destroy दिख ही रहा है अभी। कोरोना आएगा किससे पता है ना? और कोरोना से that's why we are here actually.
Yes sir.
It is here with me.
Correct sir. Thank you sir. Thank you.
Please go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay sir, thank you. No sir, thank you so much. Yeah. So as I said, there are various types of regressions, and which type of regression technique we should use, it depends totally on the basis of our study, right? So there are three things which we need to consider. One is independent variable, another one is dependent variable, and another one is assumptions, as I said, right? So when you're talking about linear regression, simple or multiple, all assumptions has to be met, right? And dependent variable should be in a continuous scale. Right. If your one assumption is not met, that is your data is not linear, you're not able to get linear data. So what you will do, you can use polynomial regression or vector regression for non-linear data, right? So if you have many independent variables, one dependent variable that is continuous, but there's an issue of collinearity, multicollinearity, again one assumption. If there is an issue of collinearity, so you can use partial least square regression or principal component regression or ridge or lasso or elastic net regression. You can use this regressions if there is an issue of multicollinearity. This particular different types of regression will take care of your issues like multicollinearity or non-linearity. Okay, Sachi Gupta has raised hand. So if you have count data, right, if your dependent variable is collected in a count, say number of calls received in a customer care center, this is a count data. So you can use Poisson, quasi-Poisson, or negative binomial regression. So if your data dependent variable is not continuous, but it is in count, so Poisson regression can be used, right? If your independent variable is continuous or binary means dichotomous, two scales, yes or no, or male or female, and your dependent variable is also binary, and assumption is not met, that is non-normal, you can use logistic regression actually. So it's not always important or possible to meet all the assumptions to meet the normal distribution or remove the multicollinearity or linearity issues, right? So when there is an issue, you can obviously change the technique of regression. When you have multi-class, you can use multi-nominal logistic regression. Binary logistic regression, when there is a binary dependent variable, when there are different, binary means say male and female, gender, two, okay, yes or no, pass or fail, this is binary. So you will use binary logistic regression, simply known as logistic regression. When there are more than two classes, say age, there are 4 class, or income, 5 class, right? 5 categories. So you can use then multi-nominal logistic regression. There is a problem issue of outliers, high skewness and heteroscedasticity exist. You can use quantile regression. अगर assumptions meet नहीं कर पा रहे हो तो quantile regression use कर लो. If dependent variable is collected in ordinal data, ranking है, ठीक है, तो ordinal regression use करो. Continuous अगर नहीं है, ordinal है, तो ordinal regression use कर लो. If it is in count, Poisson. If it is time to event data, Cox regression, right? So depending on your type of data you collected for dependent variable or your assumptions are not able to meet, you can obviously change the technique and this particular regressions can be used. So generally क्या होता है कि हमें ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं रहती रिग्रेशन से और किसी भी डेटा पे हम रिग्रेशन लगा देते हैं, लीनियर या मल्टीपल लीनियर रिग्रेशन लगा देते हैं, बट रिजल्ट्स आपको सही नहीं मिलेंगे या क्वेश्चन मार्क आ जाएगा कि भाई ये टेस्ट आपने कैसे लगा दिया जो उसके लिए बना ही नहीं है, ठीक है? तो आपको पहले सबसे पहले आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि आपका इंडिपेंडेंट डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल कैसा है और अजम्पशंस मीट हो रहे हैं कि नहीं हो रहे हैं. अजम्पशंस पे कोई रिसर्चर ध्यान नहीं देता है कि वो नॉर्मलिटी अचीव हुई है कि नहीं है, मल्टीकोलिनियरिटी तो नहीं है, ये सबको अचीव करना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो आपके रिजल्ट्स अच्छे नहीं आएंगे, राइट? तो सबसे पहले आपको ये स्क्यूनेस कुर्टोसिस का इशू सॉल्व करना है, आउटलायर्स हटाने हैं. आउटलायर्स एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट इशू है, आपको आउटलायर्स हटाने हैं. तो देयर आर 8 assumptions जो मैं कल थोड़ा सा डिस्कस करूंगा इसके बारे में. मैंने पिछले अपने वर्कशॉप्स में भी ये डिस्कस डिटेल में समझाया था कि कैसे हम assumptions को मीट करते हैं, कौन कौन से टेस्ट होते हैं आउटलायर्स के लिए. तो ये सारा हटाना पड़ता है, तब जाकर के आप लीनियर रिग्रेशन यूज कर सकते हो, नहीं तो बाकी रिग्रेशंस भी बने हुए हैं. Okay, so now we will just talk about linear regression. Linear regression.
Saket, can we do something?
Yeah.
We need a break for at least 10 minutes time, 15 minutes time. Okay.
ठीक है सर. 10 minutes बाद फिर linear regression चालू करते हैं. Yes sir, 10 minutes.
So we keep this slide going on, okay? And after that we meet again.
हाँ, तो meanwhile I'm sitting here only. If somebody have doubt, we can discuss.
प्रत्येकाला आवडणार ते आपल्या विषयाचं शिकवायची. होऊन दे. Bye. मला फिक्सिंग करतो काय की जे माझा मोबाईल मध्ये लॅपटॉप घेऊन आहे म्हणजे हा विद्यापीठाला ऍप्लिकेशन करायचं मला ओरिसा विद्यापीठाला का पण part of family now.
The factor of a product is being considered while making purchase decision. Okay, so which is more important, whether the customers of that particular location go for brand, okay, or whether they go for the size. It means minimum price में maximum चीज मिल रही है, or they go for good attractive packaging, or they prefer more variety of products in a particular product line. Okay, so it depends on the type of customers which are your respondents and which particular factor they prefer, right? So a typical data आपके सामने दिख रहा है. So I will show you how the regression analysis is being conducted with multiple predictors. So go to SPSS and you need to upload the data. Click this folder item. Select Excel, locate the Excel sheet, click on Excel, click open, then select the worksheet regression and click on OK. Okay, so this particular data has been uploaded in the Excel sheet. You can see first column is serial number, next is purchase intention, quality, brand, variety, packaging, and size, right? These are all the data has been collected for all the variables in 7-point Likert scale. Okay, so purchase intention is dependent variable and rest 5 are the predictors. So go to analyze, go to regression, click on linear regression, right? This window will open. Click on purchase intention. This is a dependent variable. Transfer it the dependent box. Rest all are independent variable. Select all independent variables and transfer the independent box, right? Go to statistics. First go to statistics. Click on Durbin-Watson test. Okay. Estimates, it will be by default, it will be clicked. Model fit by default, it will be clicked. In residuals, click Durbin-Watson test. This Durbin-Watson test is one assumption actually for regression. One assumption is independence of observation. Independence of observation is tested with the help of Durbin-Watson test. The threshold value for Durbin-Watson test is 2. If your Durbin-Watson score is near to 2, your data fits the model. Okay, if it is below 2 or it is above 2, so your data does not fit the model very well. Okay, so and the observations are not independent to each other. They are dependent. It means they have came across with certain influences, so they are not independently given the responses. This is what independence of observation is, right? So if Durbin-Watson value is near to 2, it is well accepted, right? You can also check multi-collinearity diagnostics, which will help you to check the multi-collinearity. Again, this is one of the assumption. We will check this also. Okay, click on continue. Nothing else has to be done in any other. You can also check the normality here, normal probability plot, but do not do right now. Nothing else is done. Just in statistics, you need to check on Durbin-Watson test. If you want to check the collinearity, you can check this also, right? So transfer purchase intention independent and rest all in the independent box and click on OK. You will get the results in the output box. So the first important table here is model summary. Model summary. In the model summary, the first value is R. This R is correlation coefficient. See, predictors are this 5 and independent variable was purchase intention. The R is the correlation coefficient which explains 60.4%, 0.6. It is 60.4%. There's a relationship of 0.6 between independent and dependent variables. This is Pearson correlation coefficient R. Okay. It means there is a relationship, strong positive relationship, 0.6. R square is 0.36. That is 36% of independent variable is explained. Dependent variable is explained by the 5 independent variables. This is known as R square. 36%, 0.364 Ri value, 36% is explained. The Durbin-Watson value is 2.24. It's larger than 2. It's not very much near to 2, right? So your data, the model is not very much fit with the data. There is not independence of observations. They have given the responses with some influences. So your model is not very much good enough, right? Moreover, the R square is also very less. But there are various other factors which affect the value of R square and Durbin-Watson. So we can neglect this thing to a certain extent, okay? The next important table is ANOVA table, which helps you to identify the significance of your relationship of your equation. Okay, so here the significance value, the p-value is less than 0.05. Hence, there is a significant effect of independent variable on the dependent variable. So model is accepted here. Though there are issues with Durbin-Watson and R square, but still this model is accepted. Okay. And so in R square, you see 36% is explained. So rest, how much it is left? Around 64% is left. It means there are 64% variables we have not covered, we have not considered in our study, right? But out of these 5 independent variables, the model is significant enough. Now we need to check how the individual independent variables are affecting. So let's see another table, coefficients table, where you can see the individual independent variables, quality, brand, variety, packaging, and size. The significance value is important here. So in this particular, out of 5, only brand is the variable, independent variable, which has a significant impact on purchase intention because it is less than 0.05. Rest all quality 0.454, greater than 0.05, variety 0.245, 0.997, 0.069, all are greater than 0.05. It means in our 5 model of 5 independent variable, only brand is affecting the purchase intention. That's why our R square is also less and Durbin-Watson is also not good, because we have considered 4 such variables which are not affecting. So quantity does not affect, variety does not affect, packaging does not affect, and size does not affect. Only the brand affects in that particular location. So the people staying in that particular location or your sample population are more conscious towards branded products. They do not bother about quality, and they assume that if product is branded, obviously quality will be there. Okay, so only quality does not affect, but they more bother about brand. They do not bother about variety. They do not bother about packaging of the product or the size of the product, but they are more conscious about the brand, right? So that's how the managers, the organizations will create a strategy for that particular location, that those people are only cautious, only bothered about brands. So branded products will be sold more as compared to non-branded products there. This is how the strategies has been prepared, right? And to what extent it affects, you can see the unstandardized coefficients, beta coefficients. This unstandardized beta coefficients is being considered as the strength of impact. So 0.363 unit of brand will affect. So to what extent? To 0.363 units of brand will affect the 1 unit increase in the purchase intention. right? So beta coefficient and standardized coefficient has been considered. तो हम उसी का ही beta standardized coefficient लेते हैं जो significant आता है. तो brand ही significant आ रहा है तो हम इसी को ही consider करेंगे. It means if you will increase 1 unit of brand, 0.363 units of purchase intention will increase, right? This is the interpretation of this. You can also see the collinearity diagnostics. Collinearity diagnostics for multicollinearity.
Sir, do we need to mind the standardized coefficients also, sir?
No, standardized coefficients tried to assess only the beta values of unstandardized coefficient is important to check the impact, strength of impact. Okay.
सिग्निफिकेंस है क्या स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड कोएफिशिएंट्स?
स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड कोएफिशिएंट्स कितना एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है? तो 43% सिर्फ ब्रांड एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है आउट ऑफ 36%. ये स्टैंडर्डाइज्ड कोएफिशिएंट्स जो है वो एक्सप्लेनेशन का होता है. तो टोटल पांचों मिला के 36% एक्सप्लेन कर रहे हैं.
हाँ सर.
Okay? उसमें से सबसे ज्यादा ब्रांड एक्सप्लेन कर रहा है 43% ऑफ द 36%.
अच्छा अच्छा, ओके सर, ओके. तो दिस इज द ब्रेकअप.
हाँ,
0.364 का ब्रेकअप.
हाँ, इसकी हमें जरूरत नहीं है. हमें सिर्फ स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ इम्पैक्ट हम बीटा कोएफिशिएंट से देखते हैं अनस्टैंडर्डाइज्ड.
अच्छा जी. अच्छा, बी और बीटा ये अलग अलग हैं सर? बी ये बीटा इन केस ऑफ अनस्टैंडर्डाइज्ड कोएफिशिएंट बी इज बीटा और बी इज
बीटा वो शॉर्ट फॉर्म में लिखा हुआ है. Okay, so this is how the regression analysis has been interpreted through model summary, ANOVA and coefficients. ये तीन टेबल important होती है regression, simple regression के लिए. Okay, this is how the effect, the relationship and effect can be tested. Okay, so your model is not very much good because 4 independent variables you have considered has no impact. Okay, so there is a problem in instrument development, identification of variables. So at last there is a problem in literature review. So you need to identify those variables actually which are affecting, right? Even if you have considered variables which can be a part of predictors of purchase intention, quality, size, ये सब हो सकते हैं, right? But the population area where you are conducting this research work is very much conscious about only one particular variable, that is brand. तो इसलिए ये results भी आ रहे हैं. तो मॉडल उस particular area पे fit नहीं हो रहा है. Okay, so this is how the regression has been done. Any doubt till now?
Good evening, sir. This is Mukund here.
Yes, sir.
Sir, considering the time factor, sir, I would like to request you to continue the part tomorrow from 4. It's not necessary, definitely, sir, to complete all.
हाँ, ठीक है. तो कल obviously, but ठीक है, कुछ parts छूट गए, logistic and regression छूट गया, and Poisson regression छूट गया, और discriminant analysis छूट गया आज. It's okay. But जितना किया हमने वो समझ में आया, that is more important. Okay.
Yeah. एक साथ. And we'll do a mapping the things that we have done and the things that are left. Reason we are getting a lot of queries. That's the best part that I could see here, sir.
Right,
we are getting
right,
a lot of queries, practical queries related to the PhD topics. So I'm sure people, those who are into MBAs or other PhD analytics students, they must be getting the things that what kind of a practical approach do PhD scholars or the companies are into. So what kind of a queries they face.
Right.
So that will be an applicable.
Moreover, I will share this whole presentation, and stepwise exercises has been done here. One each step has been mentioned with interpretation of the results, right? So they can go through the presentation and then they can practice on their own.
Sir. And any doubt, we can definitely share mail IDs of each and every resource person. So through that we can definitely have a coordination with each other.
Yes.
So sir, may I request you to start the session tomorrow at 4 p.m. sir.
Even in Mumbai
yes,
and Nagpur,
we will meet again tomorrow 4 p.m.
Saket sir.
Achha. Yes,
in
sir.
Mumbai and Nagpur, there is heavily rains, and due to connectivity, some of the students are not connecting properly. They are messaging us. So that is why it is better tomorrow.
I tell you, sir, it's not raining at my backyard. It's a heavy rain. It's cats and dogs, sir.
Okay.
That's why I closed my window just now. Otherwise, you would have heard so many noise. So thank you so much, sir. With this, we'll call it a day, and
sure.
We'll start the session from the point tomorrow at 4 p.m. I thank Dr. Nitin Kubde, sir, Dr. Manish Tripathi, sir.
Thank you, Mukund.
Mukul Gurgate, sir, Padmakar, sir, our IT support one and only Praveen, sir, that he is handling single-handedly everything, and all the participants, especially Mr. Alok, Sadhir, and other people. So we'll definitely would like to see and expect same kind of queries tomorrow. So let's call it a day. We'll meet tomorrow. Good evening, everyone. See you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Praveen, sir, please end the session, sir.
Praveen.
Yes, sir.
End.